already.
Mm-hmm.
Pictures in there. It's Barbara.
Got all types of people in here. How you guys doing? If you guys can hear me, give me a thumbs up.
Hi, Lyle.
What's up, Barbara? What's up, Lyle? Dom,
Hey, Dom.
Donna, Marlene, Kathleen, June.
Glenna.
What's up, Glenna? How you doing? Big thumbs up. The host has another meeting in progress. Close that. What'd you click on?
Join a meeting.
No, don't do that. Yeah, join a meeting and enter the right number. Here, the number is here. 793. Just type it in.
Is it? Live Q&A. Oh.
938 951. Yeah. What's the sign? I can hear it.
It's very quiet.
There we go. And then close it.
Can I join audio?
No, I'm gonna get feedback.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
There we go. Can you guys, can somebody talk? I don't think I can hear anyone.
I can hear you.
All right, we got you guys.
Okay.
We got you guys. You can feel free to stay unmuted. That's no problem. If there's a little bit of feedback, then we're gonna mute you, or if there's like some weird noise in the background. See a lot of familiar faces. This is great. I can see Shayna. Shayna, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing well. We actually just got to see Shayna in person. We got to see Barbara in person. We're in Philly. This is awesome.
Yes.
All right. Looks like we got 26 people in the room.
Nice.
All right, brilliant. So raise if you joined the Mastering Diabetes program within the last month of the year. Raise your hand. Keep them high. I want to see them. We got Susan Ray. We got Julie, Paul, Steven. Fantastic. Okay, Russ. Beautiful, beautiful. Keep your hands raised. Anyone else? All right, brilliant. Fantastic. And then raise your hand if you've been in the coaching program for 3 months, approximately 3 months. If you joined within the last 3 months, let's say. Barbara. Barbara, cool. All right, cool. All right, so this is basically the format of today's meeting is, like the name implies, Q&A. So if you have a particular question that you want to ask, feel free to just raise your hand and ask a question, and then we will just kind of field questions as they come through.
Oh,
so I see
Lyle saying he's not hearing anything.
Lyle, you cannot hear us right now?
Also, I'll be also fielding questions in the chat box. So if you want to put something in the chat box that you want answered, we can answer it through there. But I'll be messaging in there. So.
Yep. Okay, so
Glenna,
I see Glenna's got a question, and then Anna's got a question, and then that's it for now. So let's start with Glenna, and then we will go to Anna right after that. So I'm going to unmute Glenna. Glenna, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I feel good, but since I stopped all my insulin, my sugar levels have really skyrocketed.
How high?
Well, yesterday I had a 245 right before, well, it was around noontime, but I hadn't eaten. I ate breakfast, but I hadn't eaten lunch. And today it was like 248,
okay,
about the same time. It's hitting me right in that 12 to 1 o'clock time frame.
So what is your fasting blood glucose before it hits that 240 number?
Fasting. My fasting has gone up as well, but it's not that high. It's like 130, 140, something like that.
Okay, 130, 140. So you're in the morning, you're at 130, 140. You eat breakfast, is that right?
Right.
What is your, and then do you check your blood glucose before you eat lunch?
That's when I catch it, yeah.
Okay, so at that time it's in the 240s?
Yeah.
Okay, and
So I
then
don't.
do you check your blood glucose at any other time of the day after that?
Oh yeah, I check it about 5 or 6 times a day.
And what
Let
are
me
the
go
numbers
get.
you see?
Let me get my book.
Okay. So just to give you guys some background here, Glenna has been part of our small group coaching program, and she's been working really hard. She went from injecting 75 units of insulin per day. She has type 2 diabetes. She's injecting 75 units of insulin per day, and she has now brought that all the way down to 0. So she dropped 75 units of insulin per day over the course of a little over a month, since I think December 3rd. And and so her blood glucose was like nice and stable. And it's been nice and stable the entire time, so that way it was kind of an indicator that we could continue to back off and continue to back off. But now what she's experiencing is that when she's on 0 insulin, her blood glucose is starting to go up. So we kind of want to get to the bottom of this and try to find out what is exactly happening. You got your book with you, Glenna?
Yeah, now I'm better. Yeah.
Okay. So what other numbers do you see on your blood glucose meter after lunch?
Okay, like yesterday, I started out with a 143
Okay.
at 10 o'clock, and that's when I ate breakfast. And at 12 o'clock, it was 245.
Okay.
Then I went to a 179 and a 109. That's when I ate an orange.
Okay.
Then at 7 o'clock, I went to a 125 and a 134 later.
Okay, so it looks like what's happening is that your fasting blood glucose is relatively well controlled. You're in the low 100s, right? Ultimately, what we want to do is drive that down beneath 100. But given that you've gotten off of insulin, the low 100s is a safe place to be. Now, the most problematic time of the day is the middle of the day when your blood glucose shoots up to beyond 200. So if I were in your position, what I would do is I would probably give myself a little bit of insulin with breakfast. Okay, so I would probably, and that's not going to be something that you have to do forever, but it's just something that's going to probably going to be temporary. So if I were you, I'd give myself a little bit of insulin at breakfast at a relatively high carbohydrate to insulin ratio. Okay, based off of your decision trees, do you have an idea what a good carbohydrate to insulin ratio would be for you at breakfast time?
I don't really know how to figure those ratios.
Okay, so previously you were injecting 10 units of Humalog or 10 units of fast-acting insulin at breakfast. How many grams of carbohydrate on average are you eating per breakfast?
Well, let's see. There's a 72, a 49, 103 yesterday.
Okay, so you're maybe 70,
a 52.
Okay. So if I were in your position, I would inject at something like a 25-to-1 ratio. It's like a ballpark, but it might be a good place to start. Okay. So what that would mean is that if you're eating approximately 100 grams of carbohydrate, I would give myself approximately 4 units of fast-acting insulin. Okay. So I would do that in the morning, and then based off of the numbers that you read to me, it looks like your glucose is actually well controlled later in the day. In the middle of the afternoon and towards dinner time, your glucose comes down. So it's really the morning when you're more insulin resistant. Now raise your hand for those of you guys that are also on this call if you find that your insulin requirements are higher in the morning hours than they are in the afternoon or evening. Raise your hand. Does anybody know that to be happening? Okay, so I see a couple people, 3, 4, 5, 6 people raising their hand. Okay, so this is very common. Something that happens, it's just a normal physiological phenomenon, and there's many biological reasons for it. So, Glenna, you're not a weirdo. Okay.
Thank you.
At least not for this reason.
That's comforting.
Yeah, what'd you learn in the Mastering Diabetes college? You're like, oh, so, the point being is that this is totally normal, and I wouldn't worry too much about it. What you can do is basically, think about if you want to give yourself insulin to that meal. That's what I would do, like I said, and report back to us as to whether it actually works. Okay. What you try to avoid is going hypoglycemic. So I don't want you to give yourself too much insulin. Okay. So
well, see, that's what was happening in the beginning because, I was getting a reading of 80 and 90, which was really scary because I didn't deal with that very well.
Right.
So to
Right.
avoid
So
that,
take baby steps. But you were also injecting 10 units of insulin per meal. Remember that, right?
that's true.
And that was just a ballpark. Let me just give 10, see what happens, right? So now we're actually dialing it in based off of what's happening on a daily basis.
Yeah, and the Lantus too. I haven't taken any Lantus now for about a week, and I wondered if maybe the Lantus would be an option.
It could be an option, but it's not going to be as effective, I don't think, in your situation. It's not going to be as effective at bringing your, because if your blood glucose was always elevated at breakfast and at lunch and at dinner, then Lantus might be a better option. But since it's only elevated in the morning hours, I think a better option would be, if I were in your position, like I said, what I would do is inject a small amount of fast-acting insulin in the morning because it's not a problem later in the day.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll give that a shot.
Perfect.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're
Thanks,
killing
Anna.
it.
Great job.
Anna, you're on the mic.
Hi, how are you doing? It's so nice to see you.
Good to see you. How are you?
Anna.
Hi. You've been so helpful. Thank you so much for answering all of my Facebook questions. I know I'm like on there all the time, but it's so super helpful.
Good. I'm glad you're finding it helpful. That's great.
You're welcome.
So my question is, I have taken myself off of a lot of my medication. Can you see me? Oh, there we go. And so I've taken myself off of Actos and Metformin and Jardiance.
Okay.
And I've been on the program since Thanksgiving. So I think I'm right around 4 weeks now.
Yep.
And my sugars in the morning actually have been exactly where they were on the medication, but I'm eating so much better and I'm so much happier. So I don't feel like I've had a lot of problems going off of the medication. I did have one day I was 147 and I couldn't figure it out, but mostly I'm at about 120, 130.
Fantastic. Welcome to the magic of plant-based nutrition. You're
I
experiencing.
know, it's fabulous. I love it. So
Yeah.
my question is, when I add the beans in at lunchtime, my sugar the next day tends to be a little bit higher, like more like 135. So I was trying to avoid beans while I first started this off because I thought maybe my insulin resistance was going to make it harder for me to manage something that heavy. But then I thought when I watched your Summit series, like, oh, the magic of beans, and they're so good for your colony, and they're like so good in there. So I was scared that like then I wouldn't really combat my insulin resistance if I gave up all of that. So that's my question: is like, what, like, am I harming myself by not attacking my insulin resistance in favor of trying to keep my blood sugar low in the morning?
Okay, so explain it to me. What time of the day do you eat beans, and how much do you eat?
So I was eating them at lunch and at dinner before I did the dinner module. But once I did the dinner module, I'm just having a nice salad and a soup, like with no beans, just vegetables at dinner. And I was having them at lunchtime. But I think I probably could add some back in. But I noticed that I do go a little bit higher during the day, like into the 200s, if I eat the beans during the day. I don't know if that's a problem or not.
Okay, so what you're experiencing is exactly what I experience, and it's totally atypical. Because just like you said, you know, you take a look at the Summit interviews, we listen to Joel Furman.
Yeah, that too.
Right? I mean, beans are literally like the most magic of all foods around. There's just no question about it. There's a ton of evidence-based research so that beans are not only, you know, protective and protective against your cardiovascular or protective of your cardiovascular health, but they're actually incredibly helpful at lowering your blood glucose. So someone like you, someone like myself, I eat beans and my blood glucose goes through the roof, and I cannot explain it. But I think one way to do this, and one thing that seems to be working for me, is to decrease my total intake of beans at any given sitting, right? So what's the total amount of beans that you would eat at lunch?
Probably like a cup. I mean, maybe not even that much. Half a can, 3/4 of a can.
Okay. So just bring it down. Try that out, right? So bring it down to something like a 1/4 cup, okay? There's two options. You either have something like a 1/4 cup and it's mixed together with a bunch of other vegetables, okay?
And that's how I do it, yeah.
Fine. So bring it down to a 1/4 cup and see what kind of a response you get. Do you still go up into the 200s? Do you go up into the 140s? Try and figure that out, right? And
Okay.
if you're still going high, then just pull the beans out temporarily and see if that normalizes your blood glucose. If it does, then we can get to beans down the road. Maybe they don't work for you now. Maybe 2 months down the road they will, right?
And are there any beans that have the least likelihood to drive my blood sugar up? Like, are lentils better than chickpeas or something, or is it all the same?
You know, from what I can tell, I don't think that there is necessarily a difference in the way that they will affect your blood glucose, whether you're doing pinto beans or black beans or chickpeas or, you know, one thing that you could do, here's a workaround.
Okay.
Do you eat green peas?
I love green peas. I haven't really allowed myself to eat them because they're, you know, carby from my old ways of being.
Okay, so you could also try out green peas, because I find that not only do I enjoy green peas more, my mom would be so proud of me for saying this, but they not only do I enjoy my green peas more than beans and lentils, but the effect on my blood glucose is like non-existent. So I literally
love green peas. I love them.
Good.
And I've denied myself them for years.
Good. So one thing that you could do to make your life super simple is go to the grocery store, go straight to the food section, and get, you know, a bag of green peas that costs, I think, like $1.29. Get organic green peas. Take that, thaw them, and add them to a salad, or thaw them and put them into a soup, or steam them. It doesn't really matter what you do with them. But you know, I will eat literally an entire packet, which is sometimes like 1.5 pounds, at one sitting, and it does nothing to my blood glucose. But if I have an equivalent amount of beans or lentils, good luck. I'd have to use like 6 or 7 units of insulin for that.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. That's great advice. And the same is for the fruit. Like, it makes me go a little bit high, and so I was avoiding it. But like, my calories every day are like 800. And I mean, I'm not hungry, but like, I don't think that's healthy.
Yeah, well, and I just responded to that message. Like, I do think it's important that you bring your calories in. And I think this is also very temporary. You've made a lot of changes really, really, really quickly.
Exactly.
And the medication, like when you come off of a medication that has taken time to build up in your system, this goes for everybody who is maybe making an adjustment in medication. The medication does have a lasting impact on your body. So it takes your cells some time to get used to the fact that they're no longer getting that assistance. Yeah. So you may have that. I feel like what you're experiencing is this rebound effect right now, where you're rebounding because you've like taken these medications out very quickly. A lot of times with medication weaning, you'll do maybe half a dose, a quarter dose. So like, there's different strategies to medication weaning. You know, it's great that you've made that choice. That's fine, but this is very, very normal.
Yeah.
And so, right, the beans right now, I would be surprised if in a month from now, at the way that you're doing this, if you weren't able to add the beans in consistently and not see those same spikes.
Okay, fantastic. No, and I didn't mean to go off of it so quickly. I was going to keep the metformin and the Victoza, but that Victoza, I mean, I was in so much pain at night because my stomach was so full from all this kale and soup, and I was like, I can't even tell you how painful it was. I just had to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So you're doing the right thing, and just like Kylie said, you know, what Glenna is experiencing is a potential withdrawal symptom from a rapid reduction in insulin use. And what you could be experiencing is potential side effects of a rapid withdrawal of oral medication, right? And that's okay, because a lot of this stuff is just temporary. But as you continue to work the program, as you continue to, you know, eat a low-fat, plant-based, whole food diet, as you continue to move your body, it's going to get better over and over and over time, right? I remember when I first made the transition that I saw a lot of rapid improvement in the first week, and then it got better by the first month, and then it got better by the third month. And the nutrition guru that I was working with at the time, his name's Dr. Doug Graham. And I was like, hey, Doug, check out all this. You know, like I presented him the information at the 3-month marker, and I was like, look what happened. And he looks at it, he goes, oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Call me in 5 years. And I was like, what? And he was like, trust me, it gets a lot better. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So then by the time I hit the year marker, the 2-year marker, the 3-year marker, I was like, oh my God, this gets better every single time, right? So you're new. You started at about, you know, Thanksgiving. So you're
Right.
maybe like a month and a half into it, a month and a couple of weeks into it, you've already made some real rapid progress. So just continue to like turn yourself into a robot and be super consistent and watch as you get forward progress every couple of days, maybe every week, every 2 weeks.
Okay. And is there, just one last question, is there too low I can go on fat every day? I'm usually right around 10 grams.
Yes, that is a phenomenal question. Okay, so in the world of low-fat, plant-based, whole food nutrition, can you go too low in fat? That is a question that is actually very highly debated. So if you follow the Caldwell Esselstyns of the world, okay, Caldwell Esselstyn basically says, like, I want 0 avocados, 0 nuts, 0 olive oil, 0 olives, 0 coconut. And he is a strong proponent of that. And he says because as soon as you start integrating those foods, it's harder to reverse heart disease, whether that heart disease is atherosclerosis, high cholesterol, or hypertension, okay? Then you have the John McDougall's of the world who also say the exact same thing. He says, I don't want you touching any of those fattier foods. No avocados, absolutely no oils, no nuts, no seeds, none of that, right? Then you have the Joel Furmans of the world. And the Joel Furmans of the world who basically are like, terrible idea, stupid idea. Here's why. You can maximize your insulin sensitivity with a very low-fat diet. But 20 to 30 years from now, you're going to get 2 major problems. Number 1, you're going to get skin problems. You're going to get fungal infections on your nails, and you're going to get skin dryness, and you're going to have an advanced risk for skin infections, number 1. Number 2, you'll get brain atrophy. And I was like, brain atrophy? That seems like a little drastic, right? So I talked with Joel Fuhrman because we're good friends with him. When we were in Philadelphia, I went to his house. The 2 of us went to the gym. We worked out. We had a good time. We shared some food together. And I was like, Dr. Fuhrman, explain this to me. So he showed me the research. And he basically sent me 15 papers and was like, take a look at this. And the crux of the matter is that if you decrease your total fat intake below 10%, then you have an increased risk for long-term skin infections and brain atrophy. But if you keep your fat intake at approximately between 10 and 15% of your overall calorie intake, then you don't run into those problems, okay? So anything below 10% of your total calorie intake runs a risk. Between 10 and 15% is the zone where you can maximize your insulin sensitivity and prevent against long-term complications. Now, one more thing I will add to that is that it is absolutely necessary to consume an EPA and DHA supplement. And that's something that we haven't actually put into the program because I did not recognize just how important it is, and we're going to put that into the program immediately. So raise your hand if you are taking an EPA and or DHA supplement. Okay, 1, 2, I see Rachel. What's up, Rachel? She's got her hand up. Anna's got her hand up. Okay, Kylie's got her hand up. I got my hand up. Don's got his hand up. Okay, so let me show you guys real quickly what I'm talking about. Give me 1 second.
Well, thank you so much, Kylie, and you are so helpful. I so appreciate all of your Facebook help. You have been just made this whole process so much easier.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm glad. Thank you so much for saying that. I have so much fun in there. I love being in a Facebook group.
I've never been in one like this before. I mean, I don't know that there is another one like this, but it's been amazing.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Can you guys see right here?
Dr.
Yeah.
Simmons.
Okay, so this is obviously Dr. Furman's because he gave this to me and said, take it, use it, do what you want to do with it, okay? So DHA and EPA, what they are they are essential fatty acids. And they are essential fatty acids which are challenging to get from plant-based foods, okay? You can get, these are the sort of think of these as the mother of all essential fatty acids. And then the downstream products of this you can get from fruits and vegetables, okay? So this stuff is very difficult to get from fruits and vegetables, and the way that you get it is from algae, so blue-green algae. So if you look at the ingredients right here, it'll say right there, algal oil, okay? And as we've talked about in this program, oil is not something that we're trying to consume. However, the amount of oil that you consume with something like this is very small. It's
not even 1 milliliter.
Yeah, not even a milliliter. And this is basically does not contribute to your total fat for the day because it's so small. Okay, the idea here is that we're going to actually highlight a couple of different products which we recommend. One of them is absolutely Dr. Fuhrman's because it's It's very high quality, and you don't need very much, but you can also get it from a blue-green algae. So in the next couple of weeks, we'll be talking a little bit more about DHA and EPA, but the idea here, to sum up everything, make sure your fat intake is between 10 and 15%, no lower than 10%, no higher than 15%, and then you absolutely putting a DHA and EPA supplement, and then you're golden.
Thanks. Okay. I'll hand it over to somebody else. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
You're so welcome. Good to
Who
see
else
you.
is up now?
We have other hands raised.
We got some other hands.
All these blood differences, readings, what does that do to your A1C?
What's the question?
What the different blood readings do to your A1C?
Which different blood readings?
Do you mean having high, like having the wide spikes?
Yes. Yeah.
In the long run, if you were to stay in those high levels, like consistently, are you drawing?
Nope.
Oh, okay. In the long run, that would be problematic. It would cause you to have an elevated A1C, and it would cause further continuation of elevation of A1C. But in the short term right now, where you're still seeing lower numbers as well, it's probably going to have a minimal effect. And the fact that you're improving your insulin resistance every day by decreasing your dietary fat, by losing some weight, all of the things that you're doing by getting the fat out of your cells, that's going to be the key to lowering your A1C.
100%. I lied. No.
He's going to draw now.
I'm going to draw. For those of you who are not, draw.
Loves to get the drawing.
All right, here we go. Now you're looking at a blood vessel. And inside of your blood vessel, you have red blood cells. So these red blood cells are all over the place, and they are very numerous and extremely important. Inside of red blood cells, you have this stuff called hemoglobin. Okay, so hemoglobin is this molecule that is designed to basically trap oxygen. That's its purpose. So when you breathe in oxygen from the outside world, the hemoglobin, your lungs transfer that oxygen to hemoglobin. Okay? So the red is the hemoglobin, and the black is oxygen. So hemoglobin is specifically designed to bind oxygen, and it holds on to, I can't remember, I think it's 4 oxygen molecules. Okay? So this is basically oxygenated hemoglobin, and that's very important because this oxygen can then go into your muscle tissue. It can go into your brain. It can go into your heart tissue. And that way, these tissues are able to continue continue respirating over the course of time. Okay, so that's all great. Now, what happens is that when your blood glucose goes up as a function of time, okay, you end up with more glucose in your blood. So glucose is shown here in blue. Okay, this is a normal blood glucose concentration. Okay, you have a little bit of glucose, and it's floating amongst the red blood cells. But as you become more and more insulin resistant / more and more diabetic, you end up with more and more glucose in your blood. So now all of a sudden you're in a situation where you have excess glucose floating around in your blood, and this can become a problem because you go check your blood glucose and now you see these really high numbers. So why is this a problem? Well, these glucose molecules end up attaching themselves to hemoglobin, and then they end up getting attached just like this. So hemoglobin not only traps oxygen, it also traps glucose, and that's not a good thing because when hemoglobin traps glucose, it becomes dysfunctional, slightly dysfunctional. Okay, so this right here is what's referred to as glycosylated hemoglobin, which is a super nerd's way of saying hemoglobin that now has glucose attached to it. Okay, so the more glucose is in your blood, the more this process happens over time. So when you go get your hemoglobin A1C measured, what they're actually measuring is the proportion of all of the hemoglobin molecules in your blood that have glucose attached to them. Okay? So the higher the proportion of glycosylated hemoglobin, the higher your risk, the more of an indicator of your average blood glucose that this is. So a safe hemoglobin A1C value, okay, let's see here. So non-diabetic A1C is less than 5.7%. So what that means is that less than 5.7% of all of the hemoglobin in circulation has glucose attached to it. If you have pre-diabetes, that means that your hemoglobin A1C ranges between 5.7% and 6.4%. Okay, and then if you have type 2 diabetes, A1C equals 6.4% is greater than 6.4%. All right, so as you can see, these numbers are increasing over time, and that means that there's more glucose in your blood, more glucose in your blood, more glucose in your blood, and then therefore your A1C value goes up. So here's a really simple thing that you guys can do in order to, not worry too much about your A1C value. Like, raise your hand if you get nervous when you go to the doctor to get your A1C measured, because it's like this judgment day. And it's like, you're sort of like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Right? Yeah, that happens to all of us, right? You show up and you're like, oh my God, it's like you're being judged for your lifestyle habits, right? And it's easy to sort of become a little bit, nervous about that whole process. Here's what I'd recommend. I'll put this link into the chat box. There is online this thing called, that's not what I'm looking for. Sorry, A1C okay, there's a calculator that you can use that will basically tell you what your A1C value is likely to be the next time you go to the doctor. And the way that you do it is you're basically going to give it your estimated average glucose, okay? So let's take an example. Glenna, what is your average glucose all throughout the day? Do you have some idea? Is it like 200 or is it 106 or 130? What is it?
I'd say I only have one 200 reading during the day, so I'm thinking my average would probably be between 160, 180.
All throughout the day? Okay, let me show you how you can actually figure out this number. You can go to your blood glucose meter. So you go to your blood glucose meter and you take a look at your averages. All right? So what I'm going to look at is my average blood glucose right here. Can you guys see this number?
Mm-hmm.
No?
No.
Too bright?
It's very bright.
Okay. I'll just tell you, my average blood glucose, there it is, boom, right there. So it says average blood glucose over 90 days right here, okay, is 111. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that number, 111, and I'm going to put it right here, 111. And then I'm going to say, at 111, what's my A1C likely to be? I hit calculate, and then it gives me a number, 5.5. So I can rest assured that when I go to the doctor the next time, I'm likely to get somewhere around 5.5%. Okay? So
what kind of meter do you have?
I have a Livongo meter.
Oh.
Okay? So so this is a simple way that you can basically, not worry too much about what your A1C is going to be. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, you take a look at your blood glucose meter and your average blood glucose is 145, and then you calculate what is that likely to turn into. Well, that's going to be a 6.7, which still puts you in the type 2 diabetes range, okay? What we're trying to do is get your A1C to approximately a 6.0%, okay? Especially if you're living with type 1 diabetes, please do not become too militant about dropping your A1C below a 5.7. If you do that, you are likely to get into a point where you're experiencing frequent hypoglycemias. Nobody wants that. I would much prefer you walk around with an A1C of 6.5% with few hypoglycemias than a 5.5% getting hypoglycemias all the time, okay? So make sure you guys understand that. But point being is you can use this link right here, I'll put it in the chat box, to convert between your average glucose and your A1C, your predicted A1C, and that keeps things pretty straightforward. Okay, we got some hands up. What do we got?
if there was from a question asked earlier or for people with questions.
Okay, so let me just post this to everyone. Oh, you got that? Okay, cool. Thanks. Okay, so who's got their hand up?
So I don't.
Just go. You just go random. So how about we go to Steve?
Okay.
So Steve MCC, you want to unmute yourself?
All right.
How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing good. I've been emailing you guys because I'm trying to isolate some variables. So this is a 3-part question. You can disregard some of them if it will take too long.
Okay.
Okay. I had the same question about legumes, particularly chickpeas. By air frying them with the tiniest, like almost no oil at all, it resulted in a massive increase in blood sugar. Same thing with just plain old boiled. Right now I'm thinking the possibilities are a person hasn't yet increased their bacterial microflora enough to properly digest this. That's one possibility. The second one I'm thinking is, now I don't put much credibility in this one, is not properly fully cooked, it still has lectins. Now, I don't really believe much in that, but it's a possibility. And the third possibility of reason why of massively increased blood sugar is pesticides. All right.
Phenomenal. I love the way you think.
Okay, so those are 3 possible variables. I'm not sure how to isolate one of them or not. My stepson in Korea is the one who has it. I'm the one chatting with you about this. So it's not really a question. It's more of trying to figure out, because
yes,
chickpeas are supposed to be really good.
Okay, so I don't know how you could maybe isolate a couple of these variables to get.
Well, organic for pesticides.
There you go.
Lectin is possibly using a pressure cooker to have slightly higher temperatures.
Yep. You can also do a slow cook over the course of a long period of time.
Well, Mercola, which I don't really believe is a good source, he had a review saying that pressure cooker might be increasing temperature to deactivate lectins. It's a way to test the variable. Sure. And then the last one, possibly testing the bacterium, is start by adding 10 grams a day for 2 weeks, and then see if adding 100 grams changes blood sugar after 2 or 3 weeks.
So
for the idea of bacterium growth.
Yes, on that last one, I think there's a lot of validity in the idea here that if you try and consume beans and you don't have a very healthy gut microbiome, that you're not digesting them properly, and it can lead to breakdown products which might elevate your blood glucose. I can tell you from personal experience that when I first started integrating beans, the effect was more dramatic than it is now. And I also was getting a lot more gas back then than I am now.
Gas is a good indicator that there's not enough bacterium to digest properly.
And Kylie can vouch for that whole gas thing.
Yeah, but that's actually, I think, a very good indicator that if there's gas, then there's probably going to be a problem with high blood sugar reading. It's a possibility.
Wow.
Okay, the other 2 that I want to ask, why would sweet potatoes raise blood sugar dramatically?
Uh-huh.
And then I have one more question regarding your Amla supplement.
Okay. From now on, I just heard you say the word blood sugar. I want to rewrite the vocabulary. I hear the word blood sugar all the time. We don't measure blood sugar. We measure blood glucose. So,
okay, great. Blood glucose. And why is sweet potatoes raising blood glucose, to use the correct terminology?
Thank you very much. Why do sweet potatoes raise blood glucose? That's a phenomenal question. I don't know if I fully know the answer to this. Let's do this right now. Take a look at the glycemic index and see where do sweet potatoes lie versus purple potatoes and versus red potatoes. That's what I want to know. So somebody can do that while we're talking. If sweet potatoes are higher on the glycemic index, that could be one indicator. Number 2, A lot of people experience the same thing. So it is something that happens. Is that happening to you right now?
Yes, it's happening to my stepson in Korea.
Stepson.
14 years old.
Got it.
He's got very stable blood sugar using brown rice, wild rice.
How many people find that when they consume sweet potatoes, their blood glucose goes high? I definitely find that. Yeah, some people find that. Okay. I'm struggling to find a biological reasoning for why that is the case. The glycemic index might be part of the equation. But if your stepson is experiencing that, then what I would recommend is just decreasing his intake of sweet potatoes and then moving towards other versions of potatoes. White potatoes, funny enough, don't cause as many problems for blood glucose management as sweet potatoes do. Purple potatoes, if he's over in China, you said?
Korea.
Okay, can he get access to purple potatoes over there?
Yeah.
Okay, purple potatoes are a great way, a great alternative. And then red potatoes are actually red potatoes and fingerling potatoes, which are like smaller potatoes of all different shapes and sizes and colors. Those are something that actually can keep his blood glucose much more stable. So
basically test variables of different items or same thing, bacterium, lectins. Well, I don't know about lectins and pesticides. Same thing, test.
Always. The answer is always test.
Okay.
As in the butt as it can be.
And the last question is related to, I think you sent an email recently and we're following up. AMLA, why and how does that lower blood glucose, that's correct term, relating to the dawn phenomena?
Ooh, okay. So why specifically does AMLA treat the dawn phenomenon?
Yeah.
That's the question?
Because in your email promoting the AMLA supplement, I don't know if you specifically said it helps, or maybe the reviewers in Amazon said that.
Yeah, I've never said that it specifically helps the dawn phenomenon because truth be told, from all the research that I've ever done on AMLA, from all the research that Dr. Greger has also shown about the effect of AMLA on blood glucose and cholesterol, the actual biological mechanism by which AMLA initiates its effect is still not known. So you can look at research papers, and if you look into the actual evidence, what you'll find is that people describe the effects a lot. They say, when you consume 1 gram of AMLA per day, this is what happens. When you consume 2 grams, this is what happens. When you consume 3 grams, this is what happens. And they show trends for decreasing triglycerides, total cholesterol, blood pressure, LDL cholesterol, and blood glucose. But the actual mechanism is something that very few people have ever even attempted to describe. And the people that have described it say, we think this is happening, but we don't really know if this is actually true. So I wish I could point to you and say, oh, I wish I could draw a picture and tell you exactly which players are involved. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because a lot of that is sort of just like, intellectual fascination that scientists use to try and understand and reason how something is working. But at the end of the day, if it's working, it's working. No need to necessarily dive too much into the details. Make sense?
So it works, you're not sure why, and that's why you're selling it as a supplement.
That's part of the reason. Yeah. Well, the reason we're selling it as a supplement is because, number one, it's the single most powerful supplement to reduce blood glucose. And it's also the single most effective cholesterol reducing supplement ever discovered. Right? So it's a double whammy. Right? If it was just a blood glucose lowering thing, then great, that would be awesome. If it was just a cholesterol lowering food, fantastic. But it turns out that the antioxidant power of the food is extremely high, and it's so effective at reducing total cholesterol and LDL in addition to blood glucose that it's just a no-brainer. That's the reason.
The taste is horrible. That's why I have to put it in capsules.
Absolutely. So have you tried the actual AMLA green tea itself?
No, it's too expensive getting it here in Canada, including delivery. They don't have Amazon Prime yet on that one, so I just picked up organic AMLA powder, and it's horrible. So I put it in tablets.
That's
capsules.
Why we made our own version of it, because it is so terrible to consume by itself that we've tried a bunch of different AMLA products on the market, and I'm like, this stuff is gold, but I just can't eat it. It's terrible. So that's why we created the tea. And the tea, I will be the first one to tell you, the tea isn't the best tasting tea on the planet. but it makes it a whole hell of a lot better than trying to consume it in the raw state.
Well, as soon as it comes to Canada, I'll buy it. Thank you very much for addressing my questions.
For sure. Thanks for your diligent thought process here. I like it. All right, so we got Shayna. Shayna, what's up? All right, we're gonna unmute you, Shayna. There you go. Nope, unmute. There you go. What's happening?
So my first week of doing everything, all 3 meals, was like great. I was stoked. And then my numbers they consistently rise overnight from a lot of times it's like 130, 140 before bed, and it's in the 200s in the morning. And then when I exercise, I was told, okay, try taking some insulin. So I tried that, and it still rises.
Okay, so what changes did you make? Did you decrease your basal insulin since fully committing to the program?
Yes.
From what to what?
Well, when I'd seen you, I was taking, I think it was 8, and now I was taking 2. That's what the intermittent fast, without getting lows, took me a 2. I was slowly decreasing it. And then I went back to 3, trying to see what to control.
Okay, so tell me this. How many total units of insulin do you use per day?
Around 15.
Okay, so you're using 2 units of basal. The rest is bolus insulin?
Yes.
Yep. All right. Let me switch over. I'm going to show my. All right. Can you guys see this Word document that I have right here?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. All right. Come on. All right. So Shayna, I'm gonna draw a bunch of stuff here. Use you as an example. Okay. So Shayna, before the program, before MD, you were using a certain amount of basal and bolus, and then during MD, so
Who's that?
so who's this loud? Hold on. Mission abort. All right. I'm gonna mute everyone except Shayna right now. Boom. All right, Shayna, are there people talking behind you? Okay. I think there's some people behind you, but that's okay. All right. So here we go. We're going to go back to my screen. All right, here we go. So before mastering diabetes, how much you were using 8 units of basal insulin and how many units of bolus insulin?
Like 20s.
20s.
Early 20s.
20. So how about 22? Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay, so your total was about 30 units of insulin. Okay. And then now you're using 2 units of basal, approximately 13 units of bolus. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're basically using approximately 15 units total. All right. So what I'm trying to figure out is your basal to bolus ratio. Okay. So actually, that's not a good way to put it. If you take a look at this, your basal is basically 8 divided by 30. So what proportion of your total insulin was basal at the beginning? So basically, this is 8 divided by 30, which if we do 8 divided by 30, that tells me that it's 26%. So previously, you were using approximately 26% of your insulin was coming from basal. and the remainder, which is going to be, 74%, is coming from bolus. Now we're looking at 2 out of 15. So basically 13% of your insulin is basal, and the remainder, which is 87%, is coming from bolus, okay? So ideally, you want to be closer to a 50-50 ratio. That would be more ideal.
Okay.
So if you're using a total of approximately 15 units of insulin, right off the bat, what that would mean is that your 50% of 15 would be somewhere closer to about 7 or 8 units of basal and about 7 to 8 units of bolus. So what you got right now is you're probably under-injecting on basal and over-injecting on bolus. And that's what's leading to high blood glucose in the middle of the night.
Okay. If I was doing anything above the 3, I was getting a lot of lows middle of the day.
And that's probably because you were over-injecting on your bolus insulin, not because you're taking more basal. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
So here's what I would do if I were in your situation, okay? You're using decision trees on a daily basis?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what Cyrus would try and aim closer for. Okay, I want to be closer to about a 50% here, and I want to be closer to about a 50% here. So in order to do that, what I would try and do is get this closer to something like 7 and get that closer to something like 8. Okay? So I don't necessarily recommend making that change overnight, because going from using 2 units of basal to 7 units of basal in one night, that could make you severely hypoglycemic, and nobody wants that. So over the course of multiple days, what I would do is I would ramp it up from 2 units to 4 units to 6 units to 7 units, something like that, okay? And that might take a week to get there. Totally cool. There's no rush, okay? So ramp that up slowly and ramp this down. So we're going to start with 13 units, and then we're going to ramp that down to 11 units and ramp that down to, 9 units, and then eventually get to somewhere closer to 8. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to kind of trade one for the other and try and get it closer to a 50-50. And the way that you're going to know that your basal insulin is set properly, the definitive way to determine that is to do a 24-hour intermittent fast where you're consuming 0 food and you just have basal insulin going into you. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case and you have only basal insulin with 0 food and 0 bolus, and your blood glucose is relatively stable throughout that period, then you know that you've nailed your basal insulin. So have you done that before?
Yes.
Okay, so you did a 24-hour intermittent fast. How much basal insulin did you give yourself?
That's when I did a couple of them, and that's when I got down to the 2 where it was the only time that I didn't get hypos during an intermittent fast.
Oh, so you did a 24-hour and you got to 2.
Mm-hmm.
How many times did you do a 24-hour intermittent fast? Was it just once or multiple times?
I've done them multiple times, probably close to half a dozen times. I'm actually doing the one now.
We're doing one tonight, yeah.
You're doing the one now. So I thought there was a monkey wrenching thing.
Huh?
I thought there was a little bit of a monkey wrenching thing. Because she's saying that if she does a 24-hour intermittent fast, then she only needs 2 units.
Yeah, well, actually, are you going to do a decision tree with this one today?
Yeah.
Okay, can you post it tomorrow night so we can take a look at it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And that way...
Do you have a suggestion? I took 3 last night. Do you have a suggestion on how many I should take tonight of the basal?
What has your fasting been?
My fasting goes from like low 1s to low 2s.
Yeah, so, I mean, what did you say? You took 3 last night?
Yeah.
You still have to inject tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but you used to be on a pump when we were talking in Philadelphia.
No, I just changed from Levemir.
Oh, that's right. You just changed from Levemir. Okay, good. So you went from Levemir to which one?
Tresiba.
Tresiba, nice. You got it. The best one around. Okay, so you are now on Tresiba. All right. So if you gave yourself 3 units of insulin, 3 units of Tresiba, what is your fasting blood glucose?
In the morning, it's low 200s.
Low 200s. Okay, so right there, that means that you're likely to need more. Okay, so what I want you to do is figure out how much basal insulin do you need to give yourself, not only to not go hypoglycemic during the middle of the day, but to get your fasting blood glucose in check. Okay?
Okay.
Because the two of those usually go hand in hand with each other, right? And if you're waking up with a fasting blood glucose of 200 and then you're going hypoglycemic later in the day, then something else is the problem, right?
Okay.
Usually, if you give yourself some amount of basal insulin and that keeps you low, like keeps you in range first thing in the morning, then that's usually, most people find that that same amount of basal insulin keeps them nice and flat for the rest of the day. Make sense?
Okay.
Okay. So let's play around with that and see what kind of an effect you do get. Because if we get closer to 50-50, I can guarantee you that your life's going to improve. It's going to make life easier for you.
Okay. And is there a better time of the day to take Alma? Because if it kind of affects your liver, is it better to take it at night, your liver's high time, versus morning, your low time?
You're talking about basal insulin?
No, Amla.
Amla.
Is there a better time to drink it?
From all the research that I've done, I cannot find an answer to that question. The answer is if you just become consistent and take it at approximately the same time every single day, then that's to the best of my knowledge. If that happens in the morning, in the middle of the day, or the evening, I don't think it fully matters.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. All right, we got Kelly. Where is Kelly Einboden? I'm going to unmute Kelly. Kelly, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. I don't really have any questions tonight. I've just learned, just listening to learn, and the beans and rice thing send my sugars way up to the sky. So those recommendations were great. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, sorry. Did you raise your hand on accident? Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't think I raised my hand.
My fault.
And we're talking
No, that's good.
on chat.
Okay. So, all right. So if you have let me do this. I'm going to lower everyone's hand. I'm going to lower hand.
Why can't I get the sound?
Mute. Continue. Okay, I muted everyone. If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand, either by clicking on the raise hand button or by actually physically raising your hand, either one. Oh, so I'm right, very good. Okay, perfect. Roy, what's up, buddy?
Hi, Roy.
Well, I have a few questions.
Go for it.
I've been they're quick ones. Are sunflower sprouts high in fat?
Sunflower sprouts.
The sprouts.
So you're talking about the actual sprouts, not the seeds, right?
Right, the sprouts.
Yeah, no, the sprouts are going to be very low in fat. No question.
All of our research shows that they're high.
All research we've had is they're high. I don't know what they're referring to, the seeds or what, but
How many
because
grams, what's the fat gram content that you're seeing in your research?
16 grams.
Woo! For the seed?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, this was
We Googled it.
we Googled it, and that's what it said.
All right, so let me share my screen with you to make sure we're talking about the same thing here, because I think we might be talking about different things.
I know in fact it's because sprouts, unlike things, come in a bag with the seeds still attached, so people eat them with the seeds.
Yeah.
With the seeds attached. Okay.
Yeah, in the bag, they still are coming out of the seed.
Look at that. Romy coming to the rescue. Okay, so is this what you're talking about here? The sunflower sprouts?
Yeah, that's sunflower sprouts, yes.
All right.
We don't eat the seeds. I pick them off.
Okay. We're going to the ultimate. We're going to Chronometer. Figure out what Chronometer has to say. All right, I'm gonna log into.
I plugged him in the chronometer and it
I
didn't
don't know
come
what
up.
happened.
Yeah.
I can't get the sound.
Okay, I'm just gonna do it on my phone. Give me 1 second here.
I can't get this plugged in.
Someone's having some issues. Okay, where's Roy? Yeah.
Raise your this new one.
Okay. All right, give me 1 second here. We're chronometer, and we're typing in sunflower sprouts. And food, sunflower sprouts. Sunflower seeds, sprouts, sunflower oil. I can't find sunflower sprouts in chronometer.
No, it's not in there because we tried.
That's the problem. Okay. All right. Well, then, the other thing that you can do when in doubt is you can go back to Google and tell Google to tell you what's up. Okay. Actually, I don't want Google Images. I want just Google. Okay, here we go. Sunflower sprouts. Nutrition facts. That's usually what I do. Then I go to Google Images. See what they do. Okay, see this screen right here? Do you guys have an actual sunflower sprout package in your house right now?
No, we buy it by the tray and eat them in our salads.
Are you noticing that you're having higher blood glucose after eating them? Is that part of what's happening, or why specifically this food?
Because we researched the sprouts. And
we research the sprouts and find that my fat intake with those numbers are going way out of whack.
Yeah.
So
when you eat them are you noticing a difference in your blood glucose? Like, does it go much higher after you eat them?
No, but it goes anyway.
It goes it goes up anyway because there's something I'm eating that keeps it going up. So I haven't tracked it down yet. So this is just one of the items that I'm trying to find out. Do I eliminate them, or they're really good?
Yeah.
Salad.
Okay, I'm pretty sure. Just like Romy said, if they have the actual.
I can't get any sound. My sound is not.
Lucille, can you hear us?
Oh, Richard just put in here. It's in chronometer. Name is Go Raw Sunflower Seed Sprouted. Quarter cup with 16 grams of fat, 6 grams protein, 4 grams carb.
Go Raw Sunflower Seeds Sprouted. Quarter cup, 16 grams fat, 6 grams protein. Okay, something about this doesn't seem right because
you can't get any sound.
Sprouts are not generally high in fat at all. Okay, it doesn't really matter what type of sprout you get; they're usually quite low in fat. But here's what I would do: just take them out of your diet. Take them out of your diet temporarily, and see if it actually does decrease your blood glucose. Have you tried that, Roy?
Well, I eliminated for the last week.
And did it make an effect on your blood glucose?
This weekend, well, we just started so far. So
I have my sound on, but I can't get it on.
Okay, so there's something else in your diet that might be causing this problem.
Yes, that's what I'm hoping.
Like that.
How about buckwheat? Soaked and sprouted buckwheats.
Sprouted buckwheats. Okay, so what about them?
Well, I like them as a snack, but do you know if they take I think they raise my sugar content. So
they could. Okay, so here's what I want you to do while we're on this phone call. So we'll go, check in with other people here. In the meantime, I want you to write down everything that you're eating on a daily basis. Do you already have that logged in chronometer?
Yes.
Can you show us what it looks like?
I can't show you because I don't have a phone that does that.
Can you hold your screen up to the actual?
Yeah. Let's wait just 20 minutes.
A lot of the times, here's what I'm trying to get at. A lot of the times, people try and have too much variety, and then it confuses them, and then they end up saying, well, how come my blood glucose is going high? And I take a look at their food logs, and there's 12 different foods in their food log, and it's hard to play detective to try and figure out which one's actually potentially causing a problem. A simple thing to do is to become a robot and eat a very small, limited variety diet for just a couple of days and see if that solves the problem. So you could do something like, I'm going to eat things like bananas and, brown rice and beans, just as an example, right? And see if just simplifying it makes your life a lot easier. And if it does, and it solves your problem and it makes your blood glucose more manageable, then one by one, add in a new food on a given day, and then add in a new food, and then add in a new food. Boom. Then you're likely to find a culprit. And then at that point, you can say, oh, wait a minute. When I simplified my diet and then I started to add in more complexity, as soon as I put in the buckwheat groats, then my blood glucose went crazy. As soon as I added the sweet potatoes, then my blood glucose went crazy. Make sense?
So that's what, I don't know if you can see that or not.
I can. Yes.
No, I think you can?
I can.
No, I didn't think you could. So.
No, I can. CAN. Yes, thumbs up.
Oh, you can.
Hold it back up. Yeah, I want to see that. Okay. So hold it a little closer. Cucumber, apple, oranges, banana, coconut. What does that say?
Coconut water. Coconut water.
Is this all one day?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so we got beans, miso, something, onions, apples. So there's a lot of complexity there, right?
Yeah, Mexican seasoning, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so count the number of foods that you're eating on a daily basis. Tell me what that number is. 5,
daily basis?
10, 15. How many foods are in that?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. About 20.
About 20. That's your answer. Get it down to 5. Start with 5. Okay? Banana, apples, cucumbers, beans, rice. Boom. That's 5. Get it to that simple. Once it's that simple, get it to a point where your blood glucose is super manageable, then add in complexity. This experiment could take you, as little as a week. It could take you as much as a month. But I want you to do it in a way that it makes your life simple, right?
Okay. I'll try that. Because I've been going nuts over here trying not eat this and not eat that and da.
Yeah. Right. If you have a lot of complexity and you're trying to pull out one thing at a time, you're going to drive yourself bonkers. I'm telling you, man, go down to something super, super simple. I mean, there were days when I started this whole process where I would literally eat bananas and papaya.
Oh, yummy.
Right?
Sounds good.
And why? I was like, I'm just gonna get it. Yeah, that sounds tasty, you start there. Start with a small number of foods, get your blood glucose nice and manageable, and then add in a persimmon, add in some apples, add in some beans, add in some lentils, add in some steamed vegetables. Right? Somewhere along the way, when you add, then you're gonna start to see that there's something a little wonky happening, and then at least you have an idea of oh, wait a minute. Before I added the sweet potatoes, I had no problem. As soon as I put the sweet potatoes in, that's when the problem started. Make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
One more question.
I got one quick question here.
One more.
They proteined up at each meal. I watched the summit of all the speakers, and they say protein is not the answer. And they're saying we've been trying to keep it really low. Not the protein. So it just, they're saying 30 grams of protein, I guess, 15 to 30 grams of protein a day.
So what's the question then?
Is Is it really that important to have
Protein at every meal.
no, it's not important.
Protein is never was the answer, never will be the answer. So I would rather
Okay.
you focus on eating foods that are higher in carbohydrate and
Right.
lower in protein. That's going to get you better blood glucose. It's going to get you better long-term health.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Thank you for your help.
Awesome.
Yes, and what about pure coconut water? I buy that by the container. It's just the water.
Coconut water is fine. It's totally fine, but how much of it are you drinking at a time?
Maybe a cup and a half.
Yeah. That's got a significant amount of carbohydrate content, and it can hit your bloodstream very quickly, right? So
Okay.
having small amounts of it at any given time, that's totally cool. But if you drink a cup of coconut water, if I do that, my blood glucose will go high. I know that for a fact, right? I mean, we live in Costa Rica. We drive around, and they have what they call pipas frias, which are,
Ice, like cold
coconut.
fresh coconut.
Right. They'll literally like take the coconut and they'll lock the top off and they'll stick a straw in it and they'll hand it to you. We love drinking, but I know that the only way that I can down that is if I go for like a 6-mile run beforehand and then I consume one of those. Otherwise, I'm asking for trouble, right? So I would recommend starting with food, non-caloric food, a small amount of that, and then add complexity over time. Definitely.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I'm going to try that, see what happens.
For sure.
My sugar is coming down slowly. I mean, it's been a long process.
It's been tough.
Name 3 fruits that you enjoy eating. Go. What are they?
Bananas, apples, and I like peaches and oranges.
Okay, tell me 3 fruits that are currently in season that you enjoy eating.
Oranges, and we can get apples now, and we can always get bananas. So
Perfect. Okay. Give me one more.
Watermelon.
It's in season right now.
It's in season right now, so.
Watermelon's in season. Watermelon is notoriously problematic because it's super high glycemic.
Okay.
Give me another one.
Peaches, they're not in season. Well, let's see.
How about
persimmons are.
persimmons? Okay. So if you
They're
simplify,
just going out of season now.
what's that? Persimmons are out for you right now?
Yeah, yeah, they're just going out of season right now.
Okay. So literally do this. Eat bananas.
Strawberries are in season now too.
Okay. I want you eating bananas and apples and strawberries. Just do that, literally do that for the next 2 or 3 days and convince me that your blood glucose isn't much more manageable.
Okay.
But don't forget to eat a lot. You're going to have to eat a lot in order to not lose weight. So just keep that in the back of your head.
Okay.
Okay, start there and then add complexity, and let's see if that actually solves the problem, because I think it will.
Okay. We'll try that.
All right.
Thank you, Cyrus.
Absolutely. Thank you. Killing it.
Kylie.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. Who else got a question? Okay, we got Richard. Richard, how you doing, my man?
I am doing well.
Fantastic. I think I know exactly what you're going to say, but go ahead and say it.
Just a duplicate look like.
Oh, they're trying to compete.
The competing kissy face. Next, you have to do it with when you've been ziplining. That face from the ziplining tour.
My zipper's undone. Does that count?
Almost.
Quick, HB, want to see that quick calculation. 2 weeks that I was on the program, I dropped 0.3 points. Just doing that calculation now, went from a 7.6 to a 6.4.
Really? Based off of your new average blood glucose?
In the last 30 days, yes.
So what was your average blood glucose before, and what's your average blood glucose now?
I don't know what it was before.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, obviously, it gave me 7.6 before.
Fair enough. Okay.
Right.
What's your average blood glucose now?
The average glucose now was 7.6.
7.6 millimoles, right?
Correct.
Right.
Canadian.
So 7.6 multiplied by 18. Let's do that number. 7.6 times 18. Okay. So in American units, that's basically 137. Great. Okay, that's awesome. That's fantastic. So you basically started with an A1C of 7.6%, and now your estimated A1C is going to be down at a 6.4%. Good. As this goes, it's going to continue to improve. So I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, I can't go to my doctor now, just to let you know.
Why?
He'll freak out. He'll have a heart attack.
Why? Because you're improving so quickly?
Yeah, exactly. He was freaking out. Oh, too many lows. You get too many lows, too many lows, too many lows. No.
Yeah.
That's tough.
One of my major questions is AMLA. Can you get itchy skin from that?
Can you get itchy skin from that?
No, but skin topics have been coming. I don't know about the AMLA, but the itchy, dry skin has been coming up a lot lately. And I'm wondering, because you guys are in cold area, right?
Igloo country, yes.
Just a little cold. Is it in a particular part of your body? Is it all over? Is it like full body, like itchiness?
Full body massage daily.
Itching constantly.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. And of course that has changed when I got into the AMLA. So I did some Googling and it was kind of saying, yeah, there can be some dry skin. So
interesting.
I stopped doing that because I don't want my HBC any better.
Right.
So
the goal was 6.5. I can't go any lower.
Okay, so how long have you not been taking AMLA, and has that?
Give it 3 days.
Okay, and has anything happened on your skin? And
it seems to reduce.
Okay, this is very good detective work. So stay off of AMLA right now. Don't use it. See if your skin condition improves and you get less itchiness. It could be a side effect of taking it, and it's when people say a lot of the times they're like, oh, everyone's different. I just it makes my skin bubble, because yes, it is a true statement that everyone's different. However, there's there's much more commonality between us all than there is difference. But this is a particular example when you might be experiencing, AMLA might be affecting you in a way that it affects very few other people. So this is something that's very important to know. What other variables, what other things have you changed that could potentially be affecting your skin condition right now?
I would say increased fruit consumption. So I'm wondering whether or not the citrus level may be promoting that or not.
Because you're eating a lot of citrus?
Well, I am eating oranges regularly for breakfast.
And that's
not throughout the day.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Itchy skin started only when you started consuming AMLA? Is that the only variable that could be affecting it?
I would say that and the breakfasts, the high fruit.
That and the breakfast high fruit. Okay.
Yeah. I'm starting with the experiment with AMLA first.
Yeah, maybe. Kylie thinks that you could potentially have a food allergy.
Yeah.
So there could be something in particular that might be causing it. Okay, so play detective, do one at a time.
Yeah.
Keep the breakfast in there, pull the AMLA out. Do that for a week and see if that improves. If that slightly improves your condition but doesn't fully improve your condition, then pull the fruits out and see if that solves the problem. Are you only eating fruit for breakfast, or do you have fruit at lunch and or dinner?
Lunch on busy days.
Lunch on busy days, okay. Okay, let's do it one at a time. Let's just do it one at a time and see what kind of results you get.
The other possibility I can only come up with is maybe it's too close to girls. I don't know.
Yeah, they definitely cause a lot of, I get it all the time.
Hives.
You're not.
Hives. I don't know. Okay, good. There's a commonality.
When we went to the East Coast, I was showing Kylie. We were sitting at her sister's wedding, and it was probably my 15th day, 20th day of being there, and my hands were bleeding, literally on the outside, like on the top of my hand and on my fingertips. It was just like it randomly, just spontaneously started breaking out and bleeding, and I was like, "That's really weird." But I noticed that my hand were like super dry, and I guarantee it was because of the weather. We come back to Costa Rica, it disappears in one day. So I know you live in a cold climate. You're no stranger to cold. Has cold ever presented itchy skin for you at all, or is this brand new?
Normally, I would say no, but I mean, I got a short memory too.
Okay.
But with the body, with the food changes this year, it's possible that
With the what?
the food changes this year.
Yeah.
It's possible that just his body in general is responding to food loss.
Okay. So Kylie's saying basically with because you've changed your diet relatively drastically, like you've put more food changes in your diet recently than you have had in previous years potentially. Your skin might be responding to cold differently. That's one option. But let's keep it super simple. Test amla first, test fruits second, and let's see if that solves the problem, because likely one of those is the culprit.
When the blood sugars are readjusting themselves, obviously I'm going to lower, better HbA1c. What's a typical time to not feel so bagged and drained? Is there kind of a turnaround time for that?
Ooh, so what are you experiencing right now? You low energy?
Yes, that's correct.
At all times of the day, or only specific times of the day?
Evenings are the worst. So at 5 p.m. on, I start dragging.
Are you losing weight right now?
Yes, I am.
How much weight have you lost over the past few weeks?
I have lost, looks like 9 pounds.
9 pounds. Are you trying to lose weight right now?
No, I'm not.
Okay, then the answer is you're not eating enough food. Because when people tell me that they're low energy, the first question I ask them is, are you losing weight? And if the answer is yes, that means you're calorie restricted, right? And so as a result of being calorie restricted, it's very easy to become low energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is that if you, give me an idea, how tall are you?
5'11".
5'11". So did you do that ideal body weight calculation in the Mastering Diabetes course?
Yeah, it came out to 170.
170. Okay, so how much do you weigh right now?
168.
168. Okay, so you're pretty much at your ideal body weight. And so you don't necessarily want to be losing any more weight. Okay. So what we got to do is basically get you weight stable. So what you have to figure out is how many calories does Richard need to put into his body on a daily basis in order to not lose weight? Okay. So over the course of time, as a matter of, just as an example, I've had to figure that out. When I first transitioned to a plant-based diet, I lost, I think it was 11 pounds. I don't have 11 pounds to lose on my body. I lost 11 pounds and my family was looking at me. They were like, if you don't start eating, we're going to call, I don't know, we're going to take you to the hospital, right? So I started eating a lot more calories, and I found out that my equilibrium is 3,400 calories per day. If I take on less than 3,400 calories per day, I will lose weight, and I know that over the course of time, right? I want you to be confident in that number as well. Richard needs to eat blank number of calories per day in order to not lose weight. Do you have an idea what that number could be?
No, I do not.
No, you did not. Okay. Do you know approximately how many calories you are eating per day right now?
No, I haven't been calorie counting, just the carb counting.
Okay, perfect. So why don't you just start using Chronometer, as painful as it can be, okay? And figure out exactly what is your equilibrium. When do you stop losing weight? Because whatever that number is, that amount of food is likely to make you feel more energetic at the same time. I can almost guarantee you're not going to be as tired.
Okay. All right, wonderful. Thank you.
Beautiful. I know you're working hard, so keep working. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
All right. Who else got a question?
Raise your hands.
I'm looking for raised hands. Romy.
Hi, Romy.
I have a question. Hey, how are you guys?
What's up? What's up? How you doing?
First of all, Kylie, I have to say I got my period today. It's my first natural period, and I'm so stoked. I can't believe it. Yeah.
How long has it been?
It's been, I've been on birth control because I had like that egg retrieval procedure in March. And then I stopped it in April, and I had a few like consecutive periods, and then I saw my gynecologist, and she said that there's no way to know if I'm actually ovulating, so I still have to take birth control. And then I found this girl Audra on YouTube. She's like plant-based and like helps people get their periods back, and I did a consultation with her, and 6 weeks later I got a period. Anyway, I have a few questions about basal. Said that the ratio ideally would be 50-50, and I'm on like the amount of Lantus that I take, so that I go to sleep like one number and wake up at a very similar number is 16.5, but that's like the amount of, like, I give 15 units of Humalog just for breakfast, so it's like a really big difference for, you know, basal to bolus.
Okay, wait.
But if I more, like in my, when I do 24-hour fast, then I need a lot less basal. Like I will go low if I give more.
Okay. All right. Let's do Romy here. Here we go. Romy. All right. So right now, what you're saying is that your basal is at 16 units?
16.5.
16.5 units. Okay. And how much total bolus do you give yourself per day?
Let's see, probably around like 25 to 30.
25 to 30. Okay. So right there, you're basically taking a total of, let's call it 46.5 minus 1. So 41.5 to 46.5. All right. And then, so 16.5 divided by, we'll call it, let's just average it to be 43, is 38%. So basically you're at 38%, whoops, 38% basal, and then the remainder is bolus, and the remainder is basically going to be 62%. Okay, so you're basically at a 60-40 ratio right here. You agree with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're at approximately a 60 to 40 ratio. So truth be told, you're actually not that far off, to be perfectly honest. I know I said that ideally you would be somewhere about a 50-50 ratio, but that's just like an ideal situation. I'll tell you right now, like I use 11 units of basal and approximately 14 units of bolus. So 11 to 14 is not exactly 50-50, but it's, you know, ballpark, right? So if you go as high as 60-40, you're fine, right? Okay. So this 60-40 to me, like is not problematic at all. I wouldn't even necessarily try and fix this because I don't necessarily think anything's broken. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you. My other question was, if I wake up with a fasting blood glucose that's low,
yep,
and then I skyrocket, and if I don't treat it, then after breakfast I will skyrocket. Like it's almost like my body becomes super insulin resistant from being low, which makes sense. I mean, you know, not wanting insulin to go into the cells, but like this morning I woke up 52, and then I had 15 grams of carbs, and then I was after that.
Yeah. Okay. So what you're experiencing is called the Simoji effect. Let me show it to you. I think I'm going to draw. Uh-oh. Clear all drawing. Okay, here we go. Draw. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Here's your blood glucose over time. So here's your blood glucose on the y-axis, and here's time on the x-axis. Now, suppose, so what you're saying is that in the middle of the night, your blood glucose does something, and then you wake up and your blood glucose is low, right? And then you correct that low by eating a little bit of food right here. So at that point, you might eat something like 15 grams of carbohydrate, right? and then your blood glucose goes crazy, right? It spikes. Okay, and so at this point, your blood glucose does this. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So this right here, this right, shoots, let me fix that. This right here is a result of, so congratulations, pat yourself on the back. Your adrenal gland works properly. You don't have any problems with your adrenal gland. Okay. So what happens at this point is that when your brain detects a low, okay, one of the things that can happen is that it'll send a signal, it'll send a neurological impulse over to your adrenal gland. And your adrenal gland is a storehouse of adrenaline and cortisol. And these are things called catecholamines, which is basically a fancy super nerd way of saying things that your adrenal gland will dump into your blood in order to liberate glucose from your liver. So your adrenal gland is literally trying to save your life, because your brain detects a low blood glucose as a threat to your life. And in order to prevent you from dying, your adrenal gland goes, I can fix the problem, boom, and it releases adrenaline and or cortisol. So as a result of that, you get this bolus of adrenaline and cortisol right here at this point in time, right? And you didn't ask for that, but there's nothing that you could do about it. That's just what your adrenal gland decided to kick out, right? So if you had just done nothing and you had just kind of like waited, then the adrenaline and cortisol by themselves would have brought your blood glucose back up to a normal value, okay? But what happened was that you ate food and you had an invisible adrenaline and cortisol in your bloodstream, which you were unaware of. And as a result of that, the combination of food plus adrenaline and cortisol shoots your blood glucose through the roof. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. But what I've experienced is if I wait and so like wait a few hours, it like goes up, and then a few hours later, like I'm eating breakfast and I use the same ratio and I'm eating like the same like normal breakfast. After breakfast, I'll be really high. So it's either like I'll go high right then, like, and treat it high, or like wait till and go high after breakfast.
So here's what I would ask you. I would say, why are you going low in the first place? Is that because you're over injecting basal insulin, likely? Or is there something else?
Basal insulin lately has been like changing all the time, like throughout the week. It ranges between like 16 to like 18. And I think it highly depends on how much water I drink and how, like, when I'm done eating dinner, like how soon I go to bed after I eat dinner.
Oh, okay. So what time do you normally finish eating dinner?
Usually at 11, but it's if when I work to like make sure I get home in time for dinner. Sometimes it's, I don't know.
Sorry, I couldn't.
Like yesterday was like.
What time? 9?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is true for every single person, whether you're living with type 1 or type 2 or prediabetes. The later you consume your dinner, the more your fasting blood glucose the next morning is going to be affected. Okay. If I finish my dinner at 7:00 p.m. and then I wake up at 7:00 a.m., that's a 12-hour window. Okay. My fasting blood glucose is likely to be better than if I finish my dinner at 10:00 p.m. and then tried to wake up at 7:00 a.m. because there's something that happens when you consume dinner and then go to sleep within a short window of time. Your digestive processes are not completely finished. Your liver has not finished metabolizing glucose and sucking it up and storing it for the night. And your blood glucose can go crazy. So my point is, do whatever you can to finish eating dinner by what time do you normally go to bed is the question.
Like 11.
Okay. Here's a good rule of thumb. Do not put any food into your body after. So I want there to be a 3-hour window between when you finish eating your dinner and when you go to sleep. Can you do that?
Yeah, deal.
Okay. Great. So that's homework assignment number 1. So do that. And then homework assignment number 2, how complex is your food intake right now? How many different foods are you eating?
It's really simple. For dinner, I usually have like a cooked starch, so it's either like a sweet potato or some regular potatoes or squash, and then I just do like a big thing, steamed vegetables like kale and cabbage, Brussels sprouts, string beans. Change it up every day, but it's usually like. And then in the morning, I do oats with apple, banana, and berries, and a date.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but previously when you had either gone fully raw or when you had more raw food in your diet, your blood glucose became easier to control. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't found that since I switched to eating, I had like these horrible digestive problems this past half a year, like since I had my procedure, like insane, like bloating and like extreme pain and constipation. And I found like for the past 2 months, I've done oatmeal and just like less fruit, and that's helped like tremendously. So that's the main reason I'm doing that. Also because when I was on just fruit, I was eating 5% fat, and I don't know, I read that might not be the best thing for me. So I tried to increase it. Now I got 10% from the oatmeal.
Yeah. So basically what I'm trying to get at here is a lot of people experience this, myself included, that the higher proportion of raw fruits and vegetables in your diet, the easier blood glucose is to control. So I'm not saying you got to become a raw foodie by any stretch of the imagination, but eating a diet that contains, cooked potatoes and cooked oatmeal and cooked squash, as an example, is different than a diet that contains more fruits and vegetables that are uncooked. So I'm wondering if in your situation, if you ate something like 80% of your diet is raw and 20% of your diet is cooked, that might simplify things and get your blood glucose more controllable. And then, just like I was telling Roy, get it to a point where it's much more controllable, and then start adding things one by one by one to try and find out what's your breaking point, and then shy away from that breaking point.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, so I'll say here, approximately 80% raw. Okay. And then add foods one by one. Yep. Okay.
So it would be like raw, like steamed.
Say again.
So it's better to eat like raw vegetables at dinner instead of steamed vegetables?
Yes, it would, for sure. Whether they're non-starchy or starchy, for sure.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
We'll start posting our dinners so you can copy them.
For sure. True story. Okay, so let me stop this here. Okay. When we were in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C., it was so freaking cold. It was like 8 degrees or 11 degrees for like 24 hours. And I was like, this is stupid. Like this, I just don't like this, right? So not only was I wearing long johns and soccer socks and a pair of jeans and a hooded sweatshirt and a beanie at all times, because I can get cold pretty easily, but I started to eat more cooked food. So I was drinking like hot water for most of the day, which kept me warmer. And then when it came to dinner time, Kylie was making me soups, and I was eating oatmeal for breakfast, and I was having potatoes at the end of the day. And it helped because it kept me warmer. Okay. I noticed that my blood glucose got a little bit harder to control. And I was like, that's kind of interesting because I think I'm using more insulin. And so at that point, I realized that I was actually limited on my insulin supply, like I posted in the Facebook group. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on. If I continue to use insulin at this rate, I'm going to run out of insulin very quickly. So what I did was I went straight to a raw food diet, because I know that when I become a raw foodie, my life is simplified and my insulin use goes down big time. So simply by transitioning from a cooked food diet that was specifically designed to keep me warm to going to a raw food diet, which was specifically designed to keep me minimizing my insulin use, I cut 10 units of insulin per day. 10 per day.
Wow.
It's a big deal for someone like me, right?
So he made it. He made it through.
I made it all the way through. So I cut 10 units of insulin per day times, I think it was 11 days. that I did this. So I cut 110 units of insulin simply by going from cooked to as raw as possible, right? And so this is a perfectly, it's a personal decision, right? I can go eat cooked food. I got no problem with doing that. I love the taste of cooked food. But when I eat beans, I need more insulin. When I eat potatoes, I need more insulin. So this is a personal decision that I think you can also decide for yourself. You know, what are you willing to do, right? If eating raw keeps your insulin use low, then, you know, try and do that, or try and move in that direction, right? And just kind of decide, like,
and what
is it?
So, so you said, or someone else's question, that you should keep between 10, you do that on a raw diet.
Sorry, you keep
What do
coming.
you add?
I can barely hear you. Say it again.
What do you have for on the raw diet?
At 15% fat, because when I was eating raw, which I did for like a year, I was eating 5% fat, because there's just not that much fat in fruit.
Yeah, for sure. That's absolutely.
So how do you?
Okay, so truth be told, I'm not eating 50% fat. I'm eating somewhere about 10% fat. So I'm eating close to 10% fat, and then I got my EPA DHA supplement, no problem. So if I want to get to 10% fat, I'm eating predominantly fruits. I'm having a little bit of nuts and seeds here and there, and that seems to be putting me right around 10%. So
okay,
it's not hard for me to hit 10%. Let's put it that way. Right, and then every once in a while, if I put in a little bit of oatmeal, that'll get me up just a little bit more for sure. But I'm not at a point right now where I'm like worried too much about like the actual percentage of fat that I'm consuming. I do try and keep it closer to 10%, but it doesn't seem to go too much lower than that. Right. So if you got to throw in a couple of nuts and seeds here and there, it's totally fine.
Okay, cool. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
See this meeting.
Oh, I didn't hear what she said.
Sorry, one more time.
I know, sorry.
I just said every time after talking to you, I feel so motivated and inspired.
Good.
Oh, yay.
That's what it's designed to do.
Great job. I'm really happy that today was such a positive day for you in general.
Thanks.
All right. I'm going to just choose people at random. People that I've never met before. Okay, here we go. Here's Jordan May. Jordan May. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Good. How you doing? Can you hear me?
Good. Where do you live?
I live in Portland, Oregon.
You're in Portland. Awesome. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I've been part of the program since June of 2016. So,
oh wow,
or maybe July. But I had a crazy roller coaster of a diagnosis process. So they thought I was type 2 for quite a while, and treated me that way with oral medication. And I went plant-based a couple weeks after I was diagnosed. Saw amazing results, all that good stuff. And then around Thanksgiving, my pancreas decided to quit making insulin, and I'm now fully insulin dependent as of a month and a half ago. So I'm starting over. Yeah, thank you.
And are you on both basal and bolus insulin?
I am, yeah. And we're working on my carb to insulin ratio right now. I was in with my clinical pharmacist last week, and I was like a 20-to-1. And that was working okay. But basically for me, the big thing was gain weight back quickly, because I lost a ton of weight.
Yeah, classic type 1.
I went from about 195 to 156 in 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I've gained 10 since Thanksgiving, but I am not on a full plant-based diet today. I started back on breakfast yesterday.
Got it.
And so, my blood sugars are not good right now, but they're getting better. I'm not seeing any of those crazy like 300s. And so that's been nice, but still not seeing healthy ones, waking up with like 200s in the morning and stuff. So I'm working it out, trying to work it out quick.
All right. I got 2 questions for you. Number 1, what is preventing you from taking the plunge and going fully plant-based?
Nothing. I think that I'm ready to do it. I know that in the coursework it said to do it in phases and start with breakfast and things like that. So that's why I haven't done that. My breakfasts have been for weeks pretty much plant-based. But in my attempt to gain weight back quickly, because they were adamant about that, they put me on a 3,200 calorie a day diet. They specifically told me to eat a lot of fat, and then they said a lot of protein. And so I was admittedly excited to do that, because I had been eating this way for several weeks, but I was so weak and so tired and so skinny that I was just like, I'm just, going to go back to how I ate my whole life for a couple of weeks and gain some weight, because the doctors told me to do that. So even though I knew in my heart that, because I've loved everything I've learned, especially in those few months when I was treating myself as a type 2. I felt great for a few months too. But I just wanted to gain weight. And so now I'm seeing my insulin use going up. I'm becoming less insulin sensitive every day, eating higher fat. And so I'm excited to get back after this.
Awesome.
Okay, perfect. So I'm running down some homework assignments for you right now as we speak.
You're getting homework.
You're going to get some awesome homework. Okay. But this is actually really fun homework.
Cool.
Okay, so here's my second question to you is, have you started using decision trees, and are you using
Oh,
those?
yes.
Yep.
Oh, yes. I took them in to see my clinical pharmacist. I had 3 weeks of decision trees filled out. The numbers were not great, but she found that to be really, really helpful when I was working with her. And so those have been great. It's flu season up here, so I had the flu for 3 days. So I haven't filled them out for the last couple of days. That's why I look so terrible today. But
not at all.
Yes, I have decision trees, lots of them.
Okay. All right, check this out. Well, I'm going to switch over.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Do you see my screen right now?
Sure do, yeah.
Okay, so Romy was up top. So now, Jordan, here's your homework assignment. Number 1, commit to eating a 100% plant-based diet over the course of the next 7 days.
Got it.
So just like you were saying, if you were to step into it slowly, that would sort of keep you maybe a little bit more insulin resistant and keep your insulin use high and your blood glucose variable. If you feel comfortable making these changes and going fully plant-based over the course of the next 7 days, then I think you're going to experience a lot of insulin sensitivity. So just also be very diligent about the fact that your insulin needs are likely to get cut pretty significantly. They can get cut from 10% all the way to 40%. So be on it, be very diligent about that, right?
Will do.
Okay. Number 2, use decision trees every single day for the next 30 days, just like you've been doing. I love the fact that you're using them. Keep using them, especially as you go from less than 100% plant-based to 100% plant-based, because once you go into full plant-based mode, most people find that they just turn into a machine, and all of a sudden their insulin use just gets cut. So a decision tree is going to basically help you reverse titrate your insulin use, right?
Okay.
And then number 3, the best one of all. Oops, that's not what I want to do.
Is this follow-up on decision trees?
What's that?
Is this a follow-up on the decision trees?
It's a follow-up on number 1. What were you going to say?
Oh, well, I want to see the decision trees. They're my favorite.
Yes. Kylie is infatuated with decision trees. So,
I love decision trees.
Jordan, are you active in the Facebook group?
I am, yeah. I need to be more so, but I am, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so take decision trees and just post them. Just take a photo with your phone and post them in the Facebook group. Because
post them tonight, yeah.
This girl's obsessed with them, which I love.
I love them. I love playing detective. It's like Criminal Minds hat goes on. I'm like, how are we gonna get you more sensitive?
I love it. Yeah, I'm happy to share those. I'll share mine from today on there tonight.
Thank you.
Bingo. Now, here's the best part about this. If you go 100% plant-based, you are likely to become more insulin sensitive. And by becoming more insulin sensitive, you gain the opportunity to eat more food. So if you're trying to gain weight, you're actually in a good position right now, because if you're trying to gain weight and you're eating higher fat, higher protein foods, then your insulin needs are going to go up, right?
Yeah.
But if you're trying to gain weight, but you're eating more whole carbohydrates that are unprocessed, then your insulin needs are likely not to go up. That's the beauty of it. It's almost like you're going to be able to eat more carbohydrate-rich foods for free. And that's one of the beauties of eating a truly low-fat, plant-based whole food diet. So
that sounds great.
Yeah, so exactly. So, put this into full gear right now. Commit to 100% plant-based and watch as you're able to eat more food and really eat to a point where you're like, oh, I feel good. I feel energetic. I feel like I got a lot of substance inside of me. And if there's a little voice in the back of your head that says like, oh, don't eat bananas, don't eat those foods because they're going to make you use insulin, then test it out and see if that's actually the case.
So that has been tricky for me because there have been a few of those foods that when I went at this the first time and saw such fantastic results, especially in my blood glucose, now all of a sudden that I'm insulin dependent, like one banana just makes it just skyrocket. Whereas like I would wake up in the morning when I was still producing insulin, and I would eat like 2 bananas, two apples, like a bunch of like chia and all this stuff, just load in the fruit and I'd be fine. And now all of a sudden it requires quite a bit of insulin. So I assume that will change as soon, because I'm eating quite a bit more fat than I should be. So I'm assuming once I cut that down, that will change. But initially it's a little scary because this is I've only been on insulin for a month, so it's a little intimidating.
Totally. And I commend you. I mean, honestly, going to 100% insulin dependent is like, more than anything, it's like it plays games with your head, because you're like, oh, well, I don't want to give myself too much and I don't want to give myself too little. And then, you see a high number and you get discouraged. You see a low number and you start eating everything under the sun. And like, it can be a frustrating process. So my hat's off to you. Like,
Thank you.
However I can, because I've been through the process and I know how much of a pain in the butt it can be. But I can guarantee you that if you move as close as you can to 100% plant-based, that it's going to make your life a lot simpler, as you've already previously experienced. The only difference right now is that you'll go fully plant-based and then you're going to be injecting all of your insulin. But the purpose of going fully plant-based is so that you can eat more and simplify your insulin use at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
And one question I do have is, as I'm making the transition and back into fully plant-based, should I still be super concerned with, staying below that like 30 grams of fat as I'm transitioning back into all 3 meals, or still aim for that 30 grams or less? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Try and aim, like we were saying earlier, between 10 and 15% of your diet in fat, which usually translates to somewhere between 20 and 30 grams of fat per day.
Okay.
Definitely keep it sub 30, 100%.
Will do. Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited for the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. Appreciate the action items. I'll report back.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Post your decision trees in the Facebook group, and we'll sit there and try and interpret them with you, and see if we can get you to a point where it's not as much of a pain in the butt.
Great. Thanks.
For sure. Good work. Who else got a question? Let's see. There's an iPhone with a raised hand here. I don't know. Anybody else got a question?
I want to make while everybody's still here, I want to make just a little public service announcement about the different groups. There's 2 separate private-ish groups in Facebook. And there's the intro group, which is the free public group for people who are just wanting to learn more about plant-based, and managing diabetes with a plant-based approach. And then there's the members only group. And so just as a reminder, because we've seen sometimes there's some confusion about where to post, or that your responses aren't being answered. So we really actively try to focus on the members group for you guys, since you're participating in this program. So if you just be mindful of the fact that which group you're posting in.
Yeah. So, okay.
My PSA for the night.
So what we're going to do is we realize that like the way that we name these groups is not awesome. So we're going to tweak it a little bit. But point being is when you're in Facebook, I know a lot of you guys are members of both groups.
Right.
So group number 1 is called Intro Mastering Diabetes Support Group. We're going to rename this as of tomorrow. We're going to make it a lot clearer. But this group right here, the way that you know that you're in either the right group or the wrong group is take a look at how many people are in it. This group right here has a total of 5,317 members, okay? This is a group that's open to the world. Anybody can join this group and participate in a discussion. We do not monitor this group very closely, okay? So if it's got a lot of people in it, this is not the right group. This group, the members only group, which we may also rename, but point being is it's gonna have the word member in it. This group right now has 747 members and it's gonna continue to grow. So it's a lower number, but it's somewhere in the low, high hundreds to low thousands. Okay, this is the correct group to post in. So if it has the word member, post in here. This is where we actually monitor this group. This girl's in here way too many hours of the day. And I'm trying to be in here as much as possible. And Robbie takes a look at this stuff. So we're making sure that we're monitoring this group as closely as we can. Okay, so if there's any confusion, please post into the members group.
And also don't forget, we have a group fast going on tonight.
That's right.
So if you've already had your dinner, then you can just move right through. If you feel like making tomorrow a fasting day, we do have a group fast going on through the day tomorrow. So you can make it a 16-hour fast or extend it to 24 hours if you want. If you've never fasted before, maybe just try for the 16 hours. Drink lots of water. Lots of green tea is really good during fasting. And we're, posting in the event. There's an event created for the group fast. So we're posting there. So if you are fasting with us, then just keep you can post in there for support or just to let us know what's going on during the day.
Beautiful.
So the 2 housekeeping items of the day.
Raise your hand if you're going to do the fast tomorrow. Raise your hand.
Yay!
Cool. We got
Awesome.
1, 2, 3. I see Shannon's in.
Yeah.
I see, who's that? Tammy's in. Cool. I love it. Bethany's in. I think Kathleen had raised her hand.
Mary
Frances is in. She's
awesome.
Good.
Good job,
I
guys.
love it. All right. Oh, and then Emma's in. I think she's raising her hand too. Cool.
I see your hand. We see Emma's hand. And your tree. How pretty.
Okay, so I have to go in 5 minutes. Who else has got a question? Anyone else? Okay, I think we got Hala and Don. So let's go to Hala first. Hala, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good, and you?
Doing well.
Good. Happy New Year to
Happy
everybody.
New Year.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. I started with this the plant-based diet and reduced the meat that I eat, and I found out that I started losing hair a lot. Okay, so because originally I wasn't a big meat eater, but I tried to make it pure vegetarian, and could it be that? As you said, I'm not eating enough calories, maybe?
Yeah, were you losing weight at the same time?
Excuse me?
Have you lost a lot of weight since transitioning to a fully plant-based?
Yes.
How
Yes, I did.
Over what period of time?
Well, to start with, I'm too skinny, I'm really skinny, and I lost, let's say 10 pounds within 3 months, maybe. But for me, I'm petite, I'm petite and skinny, and
got it.
So
Okay, so
I went down now to size 2. I'm wearing size 2, that scares me.
So you sounds like you want to put on a little bit of weight?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So rapid weight loss can absolutely induce a little bit of hair loss. There's no question about it. So that could be one culprit. Another culprit could be, have you ever been tested for hypothyroidism?
I did, and the doctor said everything is normal for my age, which I was not convinced with this answer.
Do you know what your TSH level was. Do you know what that number is?
No.
Okay. If you can dig up that number, number and then post it in the Facebook group and let us know what it is, because a lot of the times doctors can misinterpret your thyroid function, and as a result of that, you can be living with hypothyroidism and not even know it. And that unto itself can cause things like low energy. It can cause a difficulty in losing weight or gaining weight, and it can also cause hair loss. So if you can help us figure out what that number is, we might be able to dig a little bit deeper.
Okay. I believe I read something. The test was for T4. I don't remember the figure, but the test was T4.
Okay, so T4 is important, but your TSH level is also much.
I know, but he did, I don't think he checked the THS.
Okay, that might be worth.
I will have to check, and if not, I will ask to run this test again.
For sure.
Yeah.
Good.
But so how about, should I still keep off the meat and all that and just stay plant-based?
100%. No questions asked.
Okay.
The other thing, if you're going to have levels checked, if you are going to have your TSH level checked, also ask for vitamin D.
Yes, that was checked. It was low.
It was low.
At that time, it was low, and I'm on vitamin D supplements.
Okay.
But still, I'm still losing weight. I'm hair. I'm worried about my hair.
Okay. It may take a little time to restore that in your body, and that so that it may take a little bit of time. But as far as your weight loss and are you tracking your calories?
No.
So that might be something.
To be honest with you, my background is in nutrition, so I know I'm eating the right food. I don't eat junk. I don't eat processed food. So
right, which is great.
But I think my calorie is not enough. My caloric intake. I think
when following a plant-based approach, and as you probably know from your background, it's really easy to fill up on low calorie dense foods, so lower caloric density. So if you're able to record your food in Chronometer or another app that measures your total calories, you may find that you're actually running much lower than you think you are. And that could be contributing. So you may need to bump your calories up using more, I would add more fruits.
Yeah. If you're losing weight, then you're calorie restricted, period. End of story. There's no other way. I mean, you could explain weight loss through other things, but if you are losing weight, the likely culprit is that you're just not putting enough calories into your mouth on a daily basis. So that unto itself could correct the hair loss. It might take a little while, for sure. But if you are losing weight, that especially if it's rapid weight loss, that can present problems with hair, for sure.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
And then when you get your results, if you want to post them in the Facebook group and,
sure will.
The Q&A call, we can talk to you, on a daily basis there.
Great. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For sure. Okay. Don, let's get to you. I have to get onto a phone call. Go for it.
Your mind is so quick, you won't be kept.
Say it one more time.
All I wanted to say is on the AMLA topic and the difficulty people have with taking AMLA. Before I knew about your tea, I started taking AMLA. I ordered it through the mail. I got it in powder, and I put it in my salad dressing. I used to use olive oil because everybody told me how wonderful it was, but when I started this, no oil, so I substituted blueberries, lots of blueberries, and I put a lemon, and I put AMLA, and I put some water. Highly digestible, not anything causing any problems. And for the fellows in Canada who can't get your tea, and I like your tea, I'm using it, I thought I would bring that as a possible method until they can get it, because I don't find a problem with it. Is there any problem taking AMLA with blueberries and a lemon?
No, not at all. Not at all. You can take AMLA with blueberries and a lemon, no problem. I mean, you're basically, are you Just taking the powder and blending it with blueberries?
I have, I'm using it as first as a salad dressing. As a salad dressing, and then what's left over, because I make a lot of it, then I take that with a spoon and I have it for a snack. So I end up eating it up so it doesn't go bad or anything. I just found it quite tasty. Very no problem with you know, the amla causing any bad reaction. And so I wanted to mention, is it okay? And second, for people who can't get your tea until they can, maybe that's a way they can take it.
Enjoy it. Yeah.
That's a great call.
That's the only reason I'm mentioning it.
Thank you. It's a great suggestion.
The blueberries are quite sweet, and they counterbalance the bitterness or the tartness of the other two ingredients.
Yeah, I could see that. That's awesome. It's a
That's all. I didn't want to take up your time.
No, no
That's
worries.
all.
Do you find that it's actually making a difference in your blood glucose at all?
My weight has been the more successful thing. I'm very close to my ideal weight now without making any great effort. I found the same issue with beans as other people have mentioned. I'm going to try the green peas. I never ate beans for a long time because I read all about don't eat grains, don't eat beans, low carb. You know, I had to completely reverse that. So I'm still in the process of reversing it. But I'm doing it. But I do find that the beans spike my blood sugar. I just accepted it and said, well, I just have to be patient, and eventually maybe they won't.
That's awesome.
Good. Good. I'm glad to hear that things are moving in the right direction for you. This is awesome. This is great.
Right. I mean, my high was 295 on the weight, and I'm now 208, 207. It varies up and down a little bit.
Wow.
So that's a change. I had plateaued at 250. I was around 240 something when I came across you guys. I've lost the stuff without really trying per se. In fact, I usually think I eat too much. I've often thought my biggest problem is portion control, but I basically eat till I'm not hungry, and then that's that.
That's so great. I'm so glad to hear that you're feeling great and feeling full.
Right. Now I do have, but it has nothing to do with you guys, a long-term issue of like dry skin, itchy scalp, but I don't know the cause of that, and I'm not going to say what I don't know. It's just an issue. It's not a horrible issue, but it's an issue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, sometimes things pop up and you think, well, maybe it's correlated to something that I'm eating or something I'm doing in my life, but sometimes our bodies just they have these kind of things going on that we don't really know how to explain them.
Right. The other thing I thought I might bring up, and that's something that I believe is true, the issue with the hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is related to hematite or iron, and it is magnetizable, and it can be magnetic. And with folks who are interested in other states of consciousness and so on, the notion of the magnetization of the human person, you know, is actually an important issue. So when we're talking about the things attaching to the red blood cells, to me, that's very significant. And also whether a person is affirmatively oriented or negatively bitter in their life directly impacts the magnetization of the hemoglobin.
Interesting.
I believe it plays a role in all of this.
I mean, it's sort of the idea that like putting positive thoughts out there attract positive thoughts.
Precisely. We become a magnet for what we feed, we grow. So if we have an affirmative, loving, you call whatever words you want, attitude in general, you know, one of gratitude, as some people call it, we magnetize that way. We further attract things in the future, like folks like you or you attracting me. Because of that, it's an invisible influence.
Mm-hmm.
We attract the things we need. We repel the things that, are less necessary. That's why people stop being addicted. That's my view.
I love that. That's a great view. Well, and look at that. We've all been magnetized to each other. That's why we're all here tonight.
Well, the thing that got me thinking that was my wife. She nearly died from low hemoglobin in the blood, which was a result of a blood transfusion that was too large in amount. And so she almost died because without the hemoglobin, you can't carry oxygen. And if you can't carry oxygen, you could be in a room with 100% oxygen and die.
That's right.
So to me, it's critically important, the issue of hemoglobin. I think it certainly impacts women in a very obvious way, but it also impacts men.
Mm-hmm.
And I firmly believe that we are walking, talking magnets. And the core of this magnet, human-wise, is the ball of the tree in the brain. The brain ball, whatever you want to call that thing, is basically we're a walking tree. We have a trunk, which is called a trunk. We have branches, and we have a tree ball, and it's rooted upstairs. And that's why this business with the hemoglobin is so important.
It's really interesting to connect it all together.
That's my view. That's my experience.
That's awesome.
I have, I can't say beyond that, but I believe it's significant.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. So Cyrus had to go and take a call, but I can stay on if anybody has any other questions that they want answered. Oh, I see. Okay, David, I see wiggling hands here. Hold on, I'm going to unmute you. Hi, David.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Okay, I'm doing good in a lot of ways.
Crap.
I hope I don't. You listening?
What was I gonna ask?
I hope
forget. All right, maybe I'll remember in a minute.
Hold on 1 second, David.
Someone else talk.
Okay, go ahead, David.
Okay, so I may be a little long-winded this first time because you don't know anything about me, okay? So, I kind of hope that Cyrus will hear this too, nothing personal, but okay. So let me see. I'm 69, I weigh 5'7", I'm 5'7", I weigh 127, 5'5", I weigh 127, okay? I became a vegetarian in 1966. I knew about Herbert Shelton. I fasted at Shelton's in 71, William Esser's in 71 too, the following years, okay? I wasn't a vegan, but I didn't really like cheese, and I didn't eat crap my whole life. My family was really surprised that last year I was, as they discovered, I had type 2 diabetes. And at that point, I was consuming a lot of Pellegrino drinks and sugar drinks because I was thirsty all the time. My A1C went to 16. I didn't know what it was about, but I felt, except for being thirsty and pissing, felt great. I talked to Alan Goldhammer at True North. I know you've mentioned True North. And I couldn't wait to go out there and fast. I fasted my own for 9 days. My blood sugar went down to 97, 100, 105. I swung into Jason Fung at that point and went through that thing. I did a lot of I am not tired. I bike 25 miles in the mountains 5 days a week. I ran a half marathon this summer. I created my own form of dancing called polyrhythmic Afro-Cuban Tai Chi, which I can dance kids 20 years old off the dance floor. People ask me, how do you get all that energy? So that's not a problem about energy, okay? I just want to say, when these people talking about it, I don't see any of those symptoms myself. So I did, I'm trying to make it short, I had to, I did a fruit fast when I was 20 for 2 months, After that, I realized that I never had really healthy bowels. America is constipated. I haven't been constipated or had diarrhea in my adult life, okay? I had some problems with the feng shit this summer, and I fasted 9 days in September. I came off that fast with an A1C, a blood count of 79, my blood sugar. I did 13 in December, and I came off with 127. I was kind of freaked out because I didn't understand why it went up. And then I'm interested in your thing really big because I think your diet is the right thing. I don't want to rape the planet with eating all. You know, if everybody did it, they would kill so many animals and throw so much shit in the atmosphere. It'd be ridiculous, you know. So the logic makes a lot of sense to me. I know about Joel Fuhrman. I know about Neil Bernard. You know, I know all McDougall. You know all the Kempner. I know all those. I watch a million things. The 127 freaked me, and I kind of like coming off it. I was trying to go eating too much, you know, like fats with it. I had problem eating too much at night. I knew it was bad, and then I came up my numbers like, and all this time before that, my numbers I would get 105 or 91, you know, and I got like 198. And then 218. I didn't know what was going on. I talked to Robbie for a couple of days ago. I had a little problem with this internet sending everything, but I was doing the diet here just the last couple of days. Just starch. I eat a raw salad every day. I know about eating raw salad, you know, and all that stuff. And so I don't understand what has happened that this is happening after I was having so much longer, and where to go next. You know, I had a raw salad today. I only eat twice a day, you know. Today after dinner I had a big raw salad, sweet potato, you know, kasha, nothing. And so I don't know where to go here. My numbers haven't gone down since I've been following very strictly the last 3 days. But Bobby's saying about, you know.
So did you just join the program? Are you following the?
Yeah, I just joined the program a week ago or something like that. I bought the 27 lectures and then I joined this, and I called you guys up because I didn't understand the thing. I got Robbie on the phone, and then he told me to keep track, and I don't even know how to email him it didn't seem to go through of what I've been eating, but I've been very strict about this, and my numbers haven't gone down in 3 days at all.
Right. Well, it does take a little time. Insulin resistance.
Okay. So I shouldn't be scared about that. As far as energy, I feel totally great.
Good.
My mental thing is terrific. You know, so I'm going, well, you all talking about all these people with the diabetes and tired and all. That ain't me at all, man. You should read my poetry book, man. It'll kill you, man. It's totally possible. You know, so that's what I'm saying. So I'm just trying to, pardon the pun, digest all this and do the right thing. And that's why I'm here talking to you now.
Okay, so here's a couple things. One is that insulin resistance takes many, many, many years to build up.
Mm-hmm.
This did not happen overnight, right?
Yeah.
So it takes time to reverse it. Your body needs some patience. Your body needs some time to adjust to the new nutrients you're going to be putting into it. So you basically are operating from, you have to rid your cells of the fat stores that are in there to reverse the insulin resistance. So the way that we have designed this particular program, you have a great foundation. You've already understand the principles of a plant-based approach. The way that our program is designed is that you take it down by step. So you're really breaking down breakfast in week 1. You're breaking down lunch. You're breaking down dinner.
Breaking down.
So have you been in the online course? The modules, the course modules?
No, I started reading the lectures. I've only had this a week with you guys. I read a bunch of the lectures, you know.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know what you mean by breaking down breakfast. First of all, I only eat in the 16-hour window. You know, that's the way I do. So I pretty much don't eat breakfast.
Right.
You know?
So the thing that you'll see in the course when you get into that, so you're watching the lectures, is that our focus is on getting you to really understanding the meals and the amount of fat and carbohydrate in your meals. So if you're logging your meals, you'll see that our goal is that you're getting 20 to 30 grams of fat per day. The first step is getting to that point. And that right there is 80% of reversing your insulin resistance.
Well, okay, right now, like the last 3 days, I haven't really eaten any fat, you know. And Robbie said, you know, I said, well, what about protein? Don't worry about it. I've been, you know, just carbs, you know, and the salad. That's all I can do that, you know. And now, you know, although I got in this thing of eating too much fat, you know, like controlling in night, but I could do that. That's fine, you know.
So stick with that for right now.
That right now it's scaring me, the numbers that they were so low before, and now all of a sudden they jumped. especially even coming off the fast. I couldn't understand after 13 days why my number was 127, was 79 the last time I came off it. And so I didn't know what's going on in my body. I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense to me.
Sure. So what is your A1C?
What's that?
What's your current A1C?
Well, this last one was 7.6. It was 6.2 in June. It was 16 last December when I was, because I was thirsty all the time. I was down in Pellegrinos and sugar drinks like crazy because I was like a junkie. You know, I didn't understand that. I didn't know I had diabetes. You know, and I turned it around and did the fast. Went from 7.6 to 6.2, and then went back up again in September. So like the roller coaster, you know, is like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I get it. So here's what I think would be really, really, really helpful for you. I understand you already have a structure for your day as far as intermittent fasting. You're doing the, you know, you don't eat breakfast already. You're bought into plant-based. Awesome. These are all awesome. You're starting from a very, you have a great foundation.
Right.
My best recommendation in this week is to learn the core module 1 in the online course. The lectures of all of the summit lectures are wonderful supplements, but the online course, you're going to see a lecture about insulin resistance from Cyrus, and it's amazing. You're going to learn.
I've watched his lectures. I understand the principle. So I would say my impression of what's going on. By the way, after this last fast and the fat, my psoriasis that was here for 15 years, ain't no psoriasis here. Went away. You know, and I thought when I heard about the psoriasis, maybe it's fat in the liver is causing the psoriasis. So I think what's happening to me is that I got fat in the liver, and that's what's happening.
What's
going on?
That's exactly.
So I think that's what's going on now. If I had to, like, you know,
have you had liver enzymes drawn or your cholesterol?
They checked my liver, and it was normal. They did whatever the test, and what I can understand from the doctor's evaluation, the amount of insulin I was putting out was correct. You know, some tests that this guy was interpreting. So I got those from my blood tests. I don't know.
Okay, well, my recommendation is to start at the basics, start at the beginning, start in lesson 1, go through the course.
Okay.
And, you know, modify it for your life. So if you're already doing 16-hour fasts every day, then you're not going to have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but adjust it towards your life. Give this some time to, like you said, to digest the information as you're making some more understanding more about the cause and effect relationship of the food you're eating and the impact on your blood glucose. We have a lot of information in there about timing of meals, about lab results to ask your physician for. I would encourage you in lesson 1, I would encourage you to ask for a C-peptide test if you haven't had one.
I don't know what that is, but I will. He does. I'm going to an alternative physician who's very expensive. But you know, he may have done that. You know, I don't know, but I'll ask him. What's that?
Look and see if you have a C-peptide, because that is the one of the markers for what type of diabetes you're living with. And
well, that's when he said that my insulin output was good, that I don't think I have type 1. He said, you know, you're producing the insulin. That's what he said that.
Good.
You know, in one of our conferences. I mean, I don't totally understand all the science when he's coming at you and talking to you about blood tests and all that. You know, sometimes I figure it out when I look it up later. But, you know, I was afraid I had type 1 at this. Well, I have type 2 in my family history.
Got it. Okay.
I don't think I have type 1, you know. But what do I know? You know?
I believe you know your body.
What's that?
I believe you know your body.
As best I can. And, you know, it's the other thing I would say, and this has gone on for 15 years, they have never been able to, like, get my thyroid right. I've been on Armour Thyroid, Synthroid, Nature Thyroid. And this last, the doctor called me up. He said, well, this number is it. You know, he didn't want to give me any more thyroid direction, but of course the two tests went the other way. And my argument was to these doctors over the years, you know, because they've gone on and off. I said, wait a minute, I show none of the symptoms of the thyroid. I don't think what you're telling me to do this. Oh, my doctor says, oh, you won't be tired. I got more energy you'll ever see. I'm not depressed. I sit down and take a shit. Pardon me, but you know, how you shit is really important, you know? And
well,
so, yeah, I have no problem.
I'm going to pause you on that for a moment because you do actually care about the language here. So.
Okay, how you defecate.
Thank you.
Pardon me, I think that should be allowed in the English language. That's the way we go. Oh, how you defecate is important because your bowels and your intestines, 70% of your immune system is in your intestines. And if your body is not reacting, is not properly doing that, something's going on. So, you know, that's not a problem, you know. I only mention because that's important. Like I told you, like when I was 20, I realized, you know, that America's constipated. You know, look at all the stuff that stuff is. So I don't have the problem with that. You know, so I'm saying I'm not showing any of these symptoms of the thyroid. Why are you asking me to take that stuff if you can't fix it with your thyroid medicine?
Right.
That's also part of the thing. I don't think that these markers are necessarily the bottom line of what's going on. That's my point.
Okay. So what is your biggest goal right now? Is it to understand your blood glucose?
I want my blood glucose right. And that's my biggest goal, and not lose weight, because 127 and 5'5", when I got into like this thing, like, you know, I was afraid. One of the things I think got me a little off in the spring and stuff, I didn't want to lose any more weight, you know. Right. I think my weight is ideal and I don't want to be lower. And everybody who gets on and talks about, oh, you lost weight, this is so good. That's not my issue at all.
I understand. So we need to work on your calorie density to make sure so that you're gonna have enough calories. So again, I'm gonna refer you back to the online course. You're in the beginning here. Week 1, talk about insulin resistance. Week 2, Cyrus goes into great detail on calorie density and on weight loss and weight balance. Right. So calorie density is going to be important for you. There's also a tool in week 2 called the decision tree, which we were talking about earlier. And in that decision tree, you can record the amount of food you're eating, and you can add in the total number of calories you're eating per day. And you can see, you know, you may need to be eating somewhere of the over 2,000 calories a day. And that's going to mean that perhaps intermittent fasting isn't necessarily the best option for you right now.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. Well, so, you know, like I talked to Robbie, he says, well, you know, one thing I've seen, because I watch a lot of your lectures on YouTube and stuff like that. And, you know, I've watched a lot since this.
Awesome.
And so one thing Robbie said, and one thing I keep track of, she says, well, you know, you could pretty much eat as much as you want in this diet, because this is my interpretation. If it's whole food and the water's there, it's going to let it into the system at the right rate. And so I haven't been counting the calories, and I eat a fair amount of, like, you know, kasha or the sweet potato. That's what I'm doing. You know, things that have some calories in them. Although I just not even looking at anything that has fat in it, not even nuts at this point, you know. So maybe I need to, you know, because I don't want to lose weight.
I would say if you're looking to not lose weight, you're going to need to add more carbohydrate-rich fruits and vegetables. That's the answer. Adding nuts and seeds in is going to increase your fat content, which is going to further potentiate your insulin resistance.
Yeah, but I don't. So I should eat more of these. So I'm eating a lot of, like, potatoes and rice and beans and kasha.
What's
you know,
kasha? I'm sorry, I don't know what that is.
Kasha is dry roasted buckwheat. Oh, it's one of the best grains in the world, man. Oh, you never had that? It's a big, Jews eat a lot of that, you know, like, it's great, you know, it cooks in like 10 minutes, and it's a tasty, nutty, tasty thing. Check it out. It's really good stuff.
Okay. Thanks. Hey, if it's working for you.
It's great.
Sounds like a good stuff. So why don't we do this? You're at the very beginning here. And at the very beginning, there's a lot to learn. So just in the next week, go through maybe, you seem very eager to learn. You have a lot of capacity for learning new information, and you're very passionate about this. I can tell.
Yeah, but this is my life. I don't want to, this is when it gets to the point of like your life. And this is how I admire Robbie and Cyrus. They took the bull by the horns, man. This is life-threatening thing. And look, Cyrus went out and got the PhD, and I really admire that because I want to approach it the same way. Even if a guy's wrong, that he even went through all that stuff is great. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's saying. I mean, I admire Jason Fung, but and Rob and Cyrus does too. But at some point I said I don't want to rape the planet, and it makes sense. You can't do that for a long term. You come into a problem. So one other thing. If I say one other thing, so you're saying because these high numbers at this point are a little scary after I was low, and so like how scared if I feel totally great, how scared should a bee does when they say hit 200 or something like that.
Well, hopefully that's not going to last very much longer.
Good. I don't take any metformin or anything like that. I don't take anything.
Okay. So I would say, let's do this. Can you do the decision trees?
I will.
Just given homework of that. If you can do the decision trees, post them in the Facebook group. I am in there every day reading every single post that comes in there.
Okay, because Robbie asked me to email him, and I couldn't figure out how to get it to him.
He
said, he said, mail me, tell me what you ate every day. So I don't know. I should just put in his name, and I couldn't. This on the digital part of this thing couldn't figure out how to get it to him. So how do I do that on the Facebook page so I can email him all the things I've eaten in a couple of days? Or you? What is your name?
My name's Kylie.
Kyle.
Kylie.
Okay. So I could send it to you too. And you and Robbie could argue about it.
We can fight over it.
Yeah, right.
I always win. Don't worry.
So if I put in your name and write in all the things that I've eaten every day, because that's what he asked me to do, and I haven't been able to send it to him because I'm not good with the online stuff at all.
Okay. So are you comfortable with posting in our private Facebook group for members?
Oh, no. I have no problem with that.
Perfect. So take a picture with your phone of your decision tree. The decision tree is located in lesson 2.
Okay.
Okay. Or just a paper with everything you're eating. Take a picture of it and post that picture into our private Facebook group. And
couldn't I just type it into, couldn't I type what I took into that? Or you want a picture? Or, because I'll type it in. Because if it's on my phone, I don't know. I just assume type it in. Because I'm writing it down anyway. Because I'm writing it down, Okay? All right.
And we'll do that for this week.
Okay.
And then on the next call, you'll get new homework.
Okay, because I won't get afraid of the high numbers for a while because that's.
I understand why you're afraid of them, and it's very, very normal at the beginning. When you start adding carbohydrate into an insulin-resistant body, you'll see spikes. It happens I don't know, is anybody else here that has gone through that can raise their hand and say that happened to me? When they first started adding in fruit and vegetables that were high in carbohydrate in an insulin-resistant state, they saw high blood glucose. And then eventually that starts to shift down.
You guys talked about having your workshop, and in 4 days, everybody the stuff went down. So I'm on day 3. So why am I going to see this tomorrow?
Here's hoping.
You guys are in this workshop. All you eat is fruits and vegetables.
We eat raw in our retreats. We do a 5-day raw fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
We exercise 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And we are very, very tuned in. I mean, it's like to the minute on what everybody's eating, how we're moving our bodies, getting sleep.
So that means you're eating no grains and no potatoes?
None.
Okay, because I've been eating those in the last few days because I thought that was allowed.
Okay, so it is allowed when you're less insulin resistant. So this is a really good point. We do, what Cyrus was saying before about how when he is primarily raw, he's the best insulin sensitivity.
Right.
That's the way he achieves it. Because there's, when you start cooking food, it doesn't make it bad for you. It just changes some of the dynamics of it. So sometimes, raw fruit has all the fiber, minerals, vitamins,
right,
phytonutrients, and water you need to properly digest and have this sustained digestion throughout your system. When you start with food, it does alter that to some degree. That doesn't make it bad, and it's nice to have variety. But maybe right now you need to keep it really simple and just eat some fruit. You know, just eat raw fruits. Right.
I'm afraid of eating a lot of raw fruit because I think that like the potatoes go slower, and also I'm in this northern environment. You know, you could eat it for nothing. You know how much the stuff costs out here if you want to eat some organic stuff. That's expensive. So I feel safer eating a potato than eating a lot of fruit, you know, just, you know, at least because as much as you could say that stuff's got to go into your system slower than any fruit. Would you agree with that? Like a potato, you know, the starch has to break down as opposed to like an apple or an.
Do you eat bananas?
Well, I would, but you know.
Add some bananas in. They're
well, that would slow
calories.
They're a little slower, but they still are a lot sweeter than a potato or a squash.
We're looking at carbohydrate.
Yeah, right. Good.
Yeah.
And they're relative. What?
I know it's very different from what you're used to hearing.
Right.
You know, we've been told that fruit is the enemy. We've learned over years. I'm a nurse. I've been in healthcare for years, and
I believe it. I believe you, but because I want to believe it.
I know.
Because it makes so much sense to me. Yeah. It makes so much sense. That's, you know, you can be satisfied. You're not raping the planet. You know, the whole thing. You know, is like. It makes a lot of sense to me. I've watched all these guys. I've watched hours and hours of videos of all these cats. McDougall, Neil Bernard, Joel Furman because he was at Chelten's. He fasted 46 days at Chelten's. You know, all these guys. You know, like I've watched a lot of their lectures. You know, I'm not like jumping in like something like, you know, brand new. And all this in the last year, I've been consumed with this because this is my survival, you know.
Awesome. Well, we're going to help you get to refining.
All right.
So you can sign up for the week. Keep posting on the Facebook group and I will respond.
Okay. Hey, thanks for your time. I hope it didn't overwhelm you this time. It's just like a lot I had to get out of my system, you know, about what is going on. Okay. I'm glad that you guys are out there, like with some sane stuff out there, because this other stuff is like, wow. Maybe I'll meet you. I'll teach you folks how to dance, man.
That would be awesome. You can come to our next retreat.
What?
You can come to the next retreat and be our dance instructor.
All right. Well, you give me a couple of bucks, I'll switch it around. Listen, I'm teaching to the students at Purchase College. They all want to know. I had a guy give me $5 after I was dancing at the Paramount Theater. It was a musician. He said, "How do you do that?" I said, "You got to give me $40. You got to give me $5 to explain this to you, because I proved to you. I have to take my math course. I can prove to you that 41 is half of 81." He said, "What are you talking about?" He gave me $5. I showed him. I can prove to you that 41 is half of 81. Very important. I know that sounds crazy. Well, your stuff sounds crazy to people. I can prove to you that 41 is half. Very important for dancers.
Wait, I don't understand. This is a dancing lesson. How do we get to math?
Well, what can I tell you? It's a dance thing. I could show you if I was dancing out here. Maybe next time. I'll show you one time. On the screen, I will show you on the screen. I will prove to you that 41 is half of 81.
Okay.
It's very important because you will have energy for the rest of. That was the other point I make. This whole thing about you burning glucose, energy is in the mind. What that guy was saying before. You tell me, if this thing about the glucose in the thing, if that was true, at 11 o'clock at night, I could eat a candy bar and I would have more energy. We are not burning sugar. It's just like these people say, runners. Oh, well, eat some candy bar and fruit and you'll have more energy. We are not burning sugar. It's just the pilot, keeps the pilot in our brain for the energy that we have. Because we are not an internal combustion energy. And that's how it's sold, even by you folks some. We are not an internal combustion engine. We just have this medium for us to express and put out our energy. And if it's sold as that way as well, you need the energy to burn the energy so you can go that. It's misinformation. That's a point that I make. And I see that when I see this, when you say, oh, you need the blood boost for the energy, I don't believe that. It's only what I would call a pilot light in your brain. Everything else, if you're depressed, you won't have any energy. If you're positive, that's your energy.
That's nice.
Check it out. What that guy said before, I believe that stuff.
Thank you, David.
Kylie, so much for time and listening to all my stuff and that 4-letter word. I think it should be in the dictionary. But other than that,
We like to keep things respectful here.
Well, this
about poop, but
yeah, you've got. Oh, that's a 4-letter word too,
That's
man.
right.
Who was that guy, that comedian? With the 7 words you can't say on TV. I don't use that. I'll use it. The guy, George Carlin.
Sure.
George Carlin. So I use the word. I think it's 25 years ago, that is going to make it into the dictionary. 25 years from now, it's going to come into the other ones I don't like. But that word I like is simple. It's going to be in the dictionary in 25 years. And you're going to be around to see, like the French Academy that has on the language. That's what's happened.
That's what's happening. Okay.
Okay, now you heard.
We'll see.
You've heard my stuff.
I think you've heard. In the meantime, you're just doing decision tree.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this step, first 2 lessons of the thing, and send you my stuff. And thank you so much for my
You're so welcome.
time. I won't super win you in the future as much.
No worries. We got
Right.
you.
I'm out of here.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Peace and love.
Right back at you.
All right, I'm closing this window.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Sounds good. See ya.
He's out of here. Boop.
Bye. Emma! You were so patient. Hi, guys. Hello, everybody. Emma has a question about decision trees.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Oh, okay. I was having trouble with decision trees. Yeah, me too. I was having trouble with decision trees. I tried one yesterday.
Okay.
I've been at it for a few weeks. My sugars are getting really, really, really good. I've been able to cut my insulin on the nighttime one from 70 units down to 40.
For you. Wow.
Yeah. In my daytime ones, I've been able to keep my sugars pretty well with what I'm given within normal range.
Okay.
I say that where I eat a lot of carbs on the fruit, like my breakfasts and things, but I give 10 units. But it's right back down to like 114 and 100 and everything right after, where it's supposed to be.
Okay.
My problem is trying to figure this out to put it in a decision tree because I'm not a breakfast person. I eat my breakfast about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay. And I have another good thing. If you watched me on Facebook, I was having trouble with coffee with my cream. Well, I've been able to go off my coffee. I am drinking green tea. Yay! I'm able to get rid of that fat that I was doing. That was my one vice. But a little bit about me. I am a 2-time organ recipient on a liver.
Right.
So I understand liver, and one of the things is you could have fatty liver disease starting and still be in a normal range on your enzymes. They'd be a high normal. Like mine run like 12 and 11. They're fantastic now.
Good.
My liver enzymes. I was vegetarian pretty well, except for that I ate some salmon and things like that prior to my transplant, because when you have a bad liver, it can't process the animal protein at all. So that's one thing that I did, and I had my weight perfect to where I wanted to. After my first transplant, I lost it because of a blood clot. And so I had to go back on the list and wait for another one. But then in 6 months, then I had a rejection episode. So I was hit with massive doses of steroids in the hospital, and then massive doses for like almost 3 years.
Okay.
Before they take them off of them. So I gained 100 pounds. And I got my diabetes back right while I was still in the hospital.
Yeah.
Who's calling? Oh.
It's actually Robin.
Well, I just just want to, know that I tried yesterday and I ended up in a massive low trying to do that calculation and do that. And I was laying in bed and I could feel it getting low. Like almost like that hot flash of stuff doing. I made my way downstairs and I checked my sugar and it was 70. So that freaked me out. Yeah. I haven't had a low in a long, long time.
Yeah.
I was having
scary,
very high sugars. I could not. I was a person that when I was first diagnosed and through the years, I always kept my A1Cs in the 6s. I have been as low as 5.8. 6.2 tends to be about my average. Well, in September, mine jumped to 7.4. And I knew I was becoming more insulin resistant. And I told my doctor, what do I do? And she told me, you can take more insulin. And I was like, I'm taking 70 units and my mornings are still like 180. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And not eating carbs. Okay. So when I started reading, when I heard about that, saw the interview on the I Thrive series with you all, that got me to sign up on this. So that's why.
That's right.
Yeah. So I could tell just doing the breakfast within a few days, my morning sugars came down to like 140 something. And then I started, as they were coming back further and further, I started cutting back that nighttime insulin. And that's why I'm down to like 40 units now.
Awesome.
I go to my doctor tomorrow, so I'm kind of anxious because these will be from September. I was really October, November, December. I should have had my blood work in December, but I put it off till January.
Okay.
So I'll get a lot of blood work done tomorrow, so I'll see. So I've been on this about the whole month of December, but I can't do those decision trees.
Okay. Well,
I can compute in my head, but
so what
I understand when I write it down, do that ratio thing.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense.
Okay. So when you are completing your decision tree, when you put in the total number of carbs per meal, and then you take the number of insulin that you inject, right?
Yep.
For the meal.
Yep.
So that becomes so when you divide the number of carbs, so let's say your carbohydrate that you ate was 100. And your insulin, let's say you inject 10 units. That means that you're at a 10-to-1 ratio. Because
okay.
100 by 10.
Are you familiar with like Smoothie King?
As a company, yes.
Yes. Okay. They have a vegan mango kale with almonds. I get it without almonds because I don't need the fat in there. Okay. So I get one of those, the big large one. It's like 600 calories. And that's like after I fasted, I'll drink that. And I can take 10 units with that. But I have no idea how many carbs are in that.
Okay. They might have that on they may have it on their website. A lot of I think it's like required now that restaurants actually post their nutrition.
Well, they posted the calories, but not the carbs. I know also that in the Chronometer, that little applet, you can't deduct the almonds. You want to be able to set minus the almonds because it automatically puts it puts that fat in there. And if you're not getting the almonds, you're not getting that fat.
Sure. So are there any times that you're making food that you can actually like count the number of carbohydrates you're eating, like a breakfast, like let's say you eat, 3 bananas and 10 strawberries?
Well, like this morning, I did a banana, an apple, 4 strawberries, and a kiwi.
Perfect. So you made that yourself. So like this is kind of one of those situations where sometimes the simplicity of like doing things for yourself at the beginning especially becomes really important, and you learn exactly how many, like what your carb to insulin ratio really is based on the food that you're preparing for yourself. So this is where, like I think Cyrus was talking about before, like just keep it really simple, right? Like he ate bananas for like 3 months or something just to like figure it out. So if you were to eat like the breakfast that you had this morning that you made for yourself, how many grams of carbohydrate was that?
Oh, I don't know. I can look in that Chronometer thing.
Chronometer, yeah.
Because that was another thing I had trouble because it kept showing me net carbs, and so that was messing me up. So I figured out how to go in on the computer online
Okay.
instead of the one on the phone.
Okay.
And I was able to get it moved from showing kcals, you know, for the calories on that side. I don't care about the I mean, I do care about the total calories. I watch that on that target, but I want to watch mostly those carbs, and I needed that information, and I was not getting that, and I was having to go then look at my book and figure everything out. You know, the old diabetic book they give you years ago.
Right.
And I figured out that's too much for me to do. I just get my mind then gets boggled down, and I don't want to do anything, and I just shut it. So, so when I was trying to do that yesterday, I was trying to figure out the carbs on the individual. And of course, it was trying to show me like the total for the day, and it was getting too much. So it didn't do. But
well, the carbs, when you're trying to calculate your carb to insulin ratio, that's per meal. So I would right now, let's try to help you focus in on the meal to meal carbohydrate count so that you can get a clear idea of how many carbohydrates you're eating. And then, so what happens is if you're injecting too much insulin or too little insulin, you're going to either need a correction or you're going to need to eat something after that meal, right? So like, let's say you overcorrect or you give yourself too much insulin at your mealtime, you're probably going to go low later, right?
Well, that's what happened on the dinner one, because I tried to follow the same calculations.
Right.
Dinner on the ratio, and it was too much.
Okay. So most people have different carb to insulin ratios for each meal.
Okay.
Some people gain insulin sensitivity during the day. Some people reduce it during the day. It just depends on your lifestyle, your activity, things that are happening, when you exercise, if you're able to get out and exercise. So most people do have a different carb to insulin ratio at each meal. So that's very, very normal. So if you're following your breakfast ratio, it could be that's not the correct ratio for dinner. And the only way that you learn that, though, is by actually doing the practice of decision trees from day to day to day. And what you see after doing them for many days in a row, where you actually have the clear picture of how many carbohydrates you ate and how much insulin you injected, and then you see, in the hours following that meal, did I need an adjustment in some way? Did I need an additional, bolus, or did I need to eat something? Was I high or was I low? Then you take that information and apply it to the next meal or the next day.
Okay. Well, I'll try that now that I've got that switched around so it can show my carbs.
Yeah, that's my calculations. And you want to go for total carb, because I think the net carb takes out the fiber, and we want to leave all of that in. You want total carb. So.
Right. I took that carbs completely off of there.
Perfect. Okay, so you kind of got that a little bit ironed out.
Yeah,
okay.
I do. So I'm gonna try doing a decision tree. And again, I liked it tonight where he's talking about keeping things simple, because I was trying to do different things, different days, because I don't want to eat the same thing every day, or I just get bored with it, and I'll want something like weird out there, that I shouldn't be eating.
No.
But and then just days I'm not home.
Right, exactly. I was gonna say for like a week even, stick with like a few foods that you can eat at breakfast and lunch, the same thing every day for both of those meals, where you can get a really clear picture of how many carbohydrates and how much insulin you need at those meals. And I feel like a week is a sort of a time frame you can probably do just about anything in a week for a week. It's not to say that it's forever. It's not to say you're never going to have potatoes again or whatever food it is that you want to eat. But maybe just for the next week, so that until you get a really clear picture and understanding of how to make these calculations, keep it simple. If you know that there's 30 grams of carbohydrate in a banana, you eat 4 bananas, that's 120 grams of carbohydrate, you're good. You know what that means. And even if you just can do that for like 7 breakfasts for a week, just do that. Simplify your life until you understand the calculation and understand the tools that were, the chronometer and all of those pieces of this puzzle that we're trying to
figure it all out. Well, I am very happy with my morning sugars. I mean, they were back down like 95, 87, you know, perfect ones. I mean, 100, exactly 100 one morning. This is, you know, these 80s, 90s, 100s is fantastic. I love those. And trying to keep, you know, bouncing back within 3 hours back down to that same level, or like 114 or 112, somewhere in there. So I'm at least doing something right because the numbers are showing. It's just trying to figure out how to document it down.
Absolutely. And like I said before, this does take time. This process takes time. It takes time for your body to adjust to a different fuel source, to the changes that you've made. Our insulin resistance takes time to move out of your body, and it's kind of it's sort of an ongoing process. You know, it's that there's no real final like number to achieve in this. So
trying to get it down pretty well that I can tell before I throw my exercise back in it, because it's about time for me to start back on my dancing and swimming.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm gonna know what things are going before I go do an hour of
exactly.
You know?
That's a really good point. And that's why we have exercise in module 5. So the way that the course is designed is that you
haven't got there yet.
Yeah, exactly. Right. The 80% of your insulin sensitivity is coming from your dietary changes. So it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner are 80% of your changes here. And then we add an intermittent fasting in module 4 on purpose, so that you get to that point where you're now more insulin sensitive and it's time to make a basal adjustment. So you can, you know, now you've made them all along already. You've been already able to make those adjustments.
Yeah.
Great.
Right.
Then exercise comes in week 5 because there's some strategy to that. You know, you want to make sure your blood glucose is in a safe range before entering exercise, especially in a more insulin sensitive state. So there's a method to that. So I think you're very wise to pause on that until you kind of have this all figured out.
Yeah.
So we'll get you there. Post your decision trees, and I can give you feedback on them during the week on how to maybe adjust the calculations as you're going through them.
Okay.
Okay? I'm really glad to see you here tonight.
Like my Christmas tree still up.
I saw it earlier. It's so pretty.
I was like, you know, I'm going to be like the lady on the middle and wait for Valentine's Day to take it down.
Oh my gosh, my sister does that. Hers will be up till March. She'll send me pictures in March. Look, my tree's still up. So cute.
Okay, I don't feel so badly. I usually have mine down by now, but I haven't got a chance to. I've been too busy.
It's okay. Plus, isn't there like a blizzard where you live going on? Isn't it?
It is freezing. I mean, today it got up to, I think it's supposed to get up to 20, but you know, I've been almost a hermit because I go outside and I'm 62, and with all the other things I've been through, that cold actually stings me. You know, my face, my arms, everything, even through coats. So layering up, whatever, I'll just stay inside. I had to get out yesterday and go to the grocery store to get some more fruits, but today I didn't go out.
I don't blame you at all. I was like, I wanted no parts of being outdoors when we were on the East.
Tonight it's supposed to start snowing, and we're supposed to have snow all night tonight and tomorrow, and it's supposed to get up to 30. So
well, heat wave.
Warms up when it snows.
Apparently. Well, stay warm and be safe.
Yep. Okay.
And I'll look for your decision trees.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Emma. Okay. Who else? Does anybody else have any more questions tonight? Is there anything else you want to talk about? No. It's good to see you guys. I know you're all muted, so I know it's weird. I'm like, how do I unmute? But it's really good to see you guys here, and I love seeing everybody's faces and seeing the faces to the names that being in that Facebook group. So I'm glad that you're here. I don't see any more hands raised, so I think this may be it for the night. Is everybody good? Thumbs up? Okay. Hi, Nan. Awesome. Have a great night, everybody, and thank you so much for being here and for your patience. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. And on the webinar this upcoming Thursday, we're doing back to cholesterol 101. We're going to kind of redo that one. So if you have any questions on cholesterol, triglycerides, we'll be readdressing that this week. And then lots more content coming in the future. We are working on so many things this year. We're really excited about some of the upcoming Mastering Diabetes offerings, and we're looking forward to 2018. So Happy New Year, and have a great night. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Good night.
Bye, Kylie.
Bye. Good night. Bye, Nan. Bye, Don. Saying bye to everybody. See you.